everyone. Welcome back to Poppin In with Alexa and Molly. I'm Molly.
And I'm Alexa.
And we're back.
We're back. I don't know if you noticed, our loyal and devoted fans, that we took a short hiatus for Molly to do some big pop culture adventures.
Okay, you know what I realized? I saw two of my Funko Pops in person last week.
I just realized if I was going to write a children's book about you, I would call it Little Molly in the Big City.
Aw, I love that.
Yeah. For context, she went to New York City.
Yeah.
If you can't tell.
And my whole life came full circle. My life has been fulfilled.
Tell us why.
Well,
dear listener,
I met Kieran Culkin, which was a huge deal for me.
Friend of the pod.
I saw two of my Funko Pops in real life, is
Who's
what I
the
was
second
saying
one?
earlier. Norman Reedus. I have a Daryl Dixon little Funko Pop, and I
didn't get you that
I
one.
went like this. Anyway, he and his girlfriend, Diane Kruger, who is also an actor. She was this close to me. I had no idea. Like, she
That's
was
crazy.
Here while I was here, while I said to my mom, "That's Norman Reedus," and she probably heard me. And then my mom,
sure they get it all the
shout
time.
out Cindy, looked right at him and went, "Oh!" And she said he saw her do that.
He's like, what is
and
it?
then
What's
sat
on
at
me?
a table right behind us.
The thing is, like, that's such a cool experience, but I also feel like it's such a New York experience. Like, I feel like if you live in New York, you're just like, yeah,
Well, for
that
context,
was my Friday night.
I went to the opening night of the new cast of Cabaret, so there was like a lot of people there.
Yeah.
So that's why there was a lot of people there.
Which is so exciting. I love
But
that for you.
it was great.
I saw no one. I saw Chris and my dog.
I mean,
they're people, like,
famous. What is fame, you know?
They're
like,
famous to you all, probably. Because I talk about them.
Kieran Culkin did everything that I thought he would do.
You looked so joyful in that picture.
I did. That photo of me, because my mom was trying to get a photo of me, like, of him signing my playbill, but, like, the angle, she couldn't get him, or she couldn't get, like, the photo, like, like, I took photos of him, because the thing is, like, he wasn't taking photos with people. Like, I got a photo with Bill Burr, which was cool. Very nice man, by the way. I would not have expected that, but he was so nice.
I love that.
But Kieran was not taking pictures. Also, Bob Odenkirk was in the show, but I didn't get to meet him because he didn't come out after. But it was really cool. We were so close to their faces. And Kieran...
Is it weird seeing, like, a famous person in real life that close?
It kind of was, but then, like, once they were there, I was just like, yeah. Like,
it kind of reminds me of, like, if you work remotely and, like, your remote coworker comes into the office
one day, and you're like, oh my God.
Whoa.
It was weird, but for some reason, so, like, Kieran was the same as he is, like, as you would think. Like, he, first of all, brought up the kids thing. Like, somebody asked him about it. You know how he always, like, makes jokes about...
when he was, like, after the show?
Yeah, he was talking about it. I was like, I've heard you say this so many times.
He is, and I don't...
You talk about this in real life, too?
He does seem to be very obsessed with his children, but, like, just
great.
which is great, but also, like, the idea of procreating more, which is interesting.
Especially when it's, like, you're the one talking about it. I always think, we've talked about this before, but I'm like, it's weird when the guy talks about it a lot.
Yeah, and,
it's like, you're not the one having the kids.
I think it's, like, maybe it's just a joke that he just keeps saying the joke over and over, but at a certain point, I'm just kind of like, okay.
And somebody asked him about it, and he just went on and on, was talking about it, and then somebody asked him, like, what shows are good right now. Like, I don't know how he came... Also, like, during that photo that you saw of me, like, joyfully smiling at the camera after he had just signed my playbill, he was already down, like, a few people. He was talking about Trader Joe's. I was like, how do we get on this topic now?
You just follow him down the line.
He is a yapper.
Like, excuse me, I'm sorry, what was that?
He is a yapper. And when he was talking about, somebody asked him, like, what shows, he said Dorian Gray.
You should have told him to listen to our podcast.
I didn't get to.
Oh my God, imagine if you would have one of our business cards.
He was still talking to some bitch who wouldn't shut up when he got to me, and I was like, that is rude. That's okay, by the way, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. If people who go to Broadway shows or, like, go to, like, stage doors, just anywhere, concerts, whatever, like, let me know if this happens to you, but, like, have you ever had it where, like, somebody else is, like, talking to somebody who's, like, signing stuff or whatever, and they are still talking to them when they get down to you, and so you don't get to, like, talk to them because they're still having conversation? There is nothing that pisses me off more. I think it is so rude. You had your chance. Shut up.
Yeah.
I would like to speak to Kieran now.
Yeah.
It's one of my biggest pet peeves in life. It happens all the time at stage doors.
I could see that. I've never done anything like that, but I could see how it would happen. Yeah. Like, I've never been in a position to be cool like that. But
I don't know. But it was really great. It was very exciting. And I told Alexa I can now go on my 31st rewatch of Succession.
I'm happy for you.
Because I was worried if I didn't get to see him.
I was worried for you.
If I didn't get to see him, I think I would never watch Succession again.
I think, like, you would change as a person fundamentally if you couldn't rewatch it.
I know. Who would I be?
Yeah. Interesting. You'd be like, actually, I'm into, like,
I'm good.
model trains
I'm going to go up
now.
to space now because there's no reason for me to be.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, to get into, like, our topics today, we should say at the top, as always, we post our timestamps in our episode description, also on our Instagram at Poppin In Podcast. So if there's a topic you don't care about or you're worried about spoilers, because I honestly can't contain my mouth. Anyways, contain myself when it comes to talking about shows, like, feel free to skip ahead or whatever. But this week, Black Mirror! Yay!
Wow, I had to really follow where you were, like,
I know,
your
you were
inflection.
looking at something on your phone, and then you were like,
but
right
I
on
wasn't sure where your inflection
was impressive.
going.
How long is so this is season 7 of Black Mirror.
Yeah, which
when
is
did
crazy.
Season 6 come out? Because I know we were talking about
last
it when
year.
it came out.
I think last year.
I thought it had been a while.
It's weird because it's one of those shows where I feel like now they're just really pumping it out, but before I felt like we had to wait like forever for a new season.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like COVID helped with that. Like they had more time to like write. So
Maybe.
I don't know. But so this is season 7. If you don't know, Black Mirror is a British anthology series where each episode kind of deals with like a dystopian aspect of technology and how it plays into your life. I have been watching this since it came out. I remember my mom was like, you need to watch this show, even though the first episode is so crazy.
Do you know what your first episode was?
The first episode.
Really? I didn't watch it like that.
How did you watch it?
I think I had heard people talking about certain episodes. My first episode was Hang the DJ.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So wait, you didn't start watching it because that's like season 3 or 4, right?
Yeah, I think 3 or something. I didn't start watching it from the beginning. I like went back. I don't know what made me watch. I think a new season had just come out, like season 4 or something, and so people were talking about that episode. I was in college, and people were talking about that specific episode, and so I just went and watched it, and then like I went back from the beginning.
Yeah, I watched it from like. And the thing is, even when I tell people now, because they're going to go to season 1, episode 1, and this isn't a spoiler, like, this has been out for a while.
Yeah.
Season 1, episode 1, the first episode ever is, like, the princess of the UK of England gets kidnapped, and the ransom is the prime minister has to fuck a pig on live television.
Yeah.
It is
so wild for a first episode.
It is wild, but it's actually, like, the premise is crazy, but it's kind of well done once you watch it, where you're just like, this feels kind of like it could actually happen.
And it is so well done. I'm glad I didn't watch it from the beginning because I do wonder. But I obviously captured
I think you would have stopped if you had watched that first episode.
Because let me tell you, when they show the pig, like when he first walks into the room, finally, like towards the end, and he decides he's gonna do it. Spoiler, sorry, spoiler. And he walks in, and you just see the pig there. It is one of the grossest things like ever.
Because it's a pig.
Because you're just like, he is going to have to fuck that pig. That is so gross.
Yeah.
It's a pig.
It's insane.
And he's gross for that. Like, but
it's also like someone's going to
die
if you don't fuck that
he's
pig.
Like a hero. Yeah. It's really upsetting, but it's wild of them to do that as a first episode because, like, you know, so many people could, like, it was so bold of them because so many people could have been like, what the, like, no.
Yeah.
But everybody stuck with it.
I have a weird question. Do you think it would be different if the gender roles were reversed and it was someone getting fucked by a pig? That seems worse, right?
That's worse.
That seems way worse.
But then the other way is also, like, sad for the pig.
Yeah.
Like, for the guy. I don't know. It's all upsetting. It was a great episode, though. It's just, like, I will never watch it again.
Yes. And so we just had this huge discussion downstairs with my fiance, friend of the pod,
No
Chris.
longer friend of the pod.
Yeah, where he
just kidding
infuriates me because I've been
no
trying
longer
to,
fiance.
Yeah. No, I literally like.
You said you almost caused him like bodily harm
because he laughs at Black Mirror whenever I mention it or whenever he like sees me watching it. He walked in the door, saw that Black Mirror was on, started laughing all the way to our bar, and I was like,
"What is there to laugh about? It's a brilliant show."
It's because he said he can't get the tweet out of his mind where when it first came out, and someone was like, what if your phone was your mate? And I was like, no, but it's so good.
Can I say something? I don't get what's funny about that.
It's not that funny, but Chris thinks it's very funny, and now he can't take the show seriously. So I've been trying to get him to watch it for years, and that's why when this new season came out, there's one particular episode that he did watch with me because the only way I've ever gotten him to watch an episode, it's this one time I had just started the episode when he walked in the door. So he was like, oh, continue your show.
You should have X'd out, gone to season 2. And
it was like 1 minute. I know, I didn't think about it, but whatever. And you were like, no, I can't believe Alexa's showing you that episode. I was like, the semantics here, I'm not showing him the episode.
Yeah, you were just watching it. He happened to be in the room.
It's the only way I've gotten his eyes on this show. Ever.
And it was the worst episode.
I actually disagree. But, so let's dive into it.
I'm not saying it was the worst. I'm just saying I did not like it. Let's dive into it. Black Mirror.
This was, what was it, 6 or 7 episodes?
6.
6 episodes?
I think they're always 6.
And so I was confused
Actually,
because...
sometimes there are 3. I think if you go back the earlier
the Miley Cyrus season was 3.
Yeah, they might want to go back to that. Because I think now they're getting a little greedy with the content. I think they need to go back to only 3, because let me tell you, those first few seasons were masterpieces.
Oh, yeah. And here's my thing. So I thought the first episode, now that I'm thinking back, I thought it was the one with the woman where she has, like, the brain trauma. But
trauma. The Common People episode? Yeah, that was the first one.
Okay, maybe they released it differently in the UK, because I was listening to, like, a podcast, and they were talking about, like, that was supposed to be the first one.
What? That is the first one.
Or that was the second one, and the one with Verity.
That was the second one.
Yeah. I don't know.
I wonder if they're... So I have to get into that because they are messing with our minds a little bit. You know, they're altering episodes depending on where it's located.
I did not know that.
Yes, they're altering
How?
them. Just to fuck with you. Like, especially that episode, the Verity one. But we'll get into that. But, okay, so the first episode was Common People. It had... Rashida Jones and who was the other person? Chris
McDowell?
I think so, yeah. The Scottish guy.
Yeah, I always think of him the Scottish guy from Bridesmaids.
Yeah.
But he's been in a bunch of other things.
He's like
actually
not,
a really good actor.
He is very good.
And it's actually, I think, so I was listening to an interview with the creator, Charlie
Brooker.
Or
Booker? Wait, no.
It's definitely with an R because I kept typing it in wrong. But, and he was saying that episode was supposed to be funny. Like, that's a funny episode, but then it just kind of naturally turns very dark.
It was funny at first.
So basically the premise is, like, they introduce you to this really lovely couple. You kind of, like, you go, like, it's their first anniversary. They're, like, cuddling in bed together. Mm-hmm. And then she has basically a brain tumor that's inoperable. And again, spoilers, but, you know, we're here to discuss. So let's discuss. And, oh gosh, what's her name? Tracy Ellis Ross.
Oh yes, yeah.
Comes in from this company called, I think, Rivermind, and is like, it's basically like back up her consciousness to the cloud and then put it back in for a monthly fee. And there's certain stipulations where it's like she has to stay within the service zone, like a cell phone type of thing. Yeah. And so he's like, yes, let's do that, because it's otherwise she's gonna die. Yeah. And so they do that, and then as it goes through, it's just like, it's so good in the representation of capitalism.
It is, and it's, can I say what's funny about it? So the idea is that, like, they have to keep upping the subscription because, like, each thing with the first subscription, you know, it works, but then they're like, oh, she starts, like, reading ads, like, everywhere she goes. And so it's like, she'll be like, you know, honey nuts or whatever. Yeah. And so the idea is just, like, the outrageous, like, subscription fees with, like, worse service, and it's like, it's so funny because it's a show on Netflix, you know, and so it's just, I just thought it was funny.
And one thing I also noticed about, I think each episode of this season has some sort of callback to another episode. So in this season, she was teaching the kids about the bees, and if you're paying attention, she's teaching about, like, I forget what episode it is, but it's one of the earlier seasons where they have basically, like, these mechanical bees.
Yes. And they also... Hated in the Nation was the episode.
Yes. And they also go to they have a juniper burger.
I have a whole Easter egg thing. Okay. That we'll get into. I was going to read them.
I was trying to look up the juniper stuff because they mentioned almost every episode.
San Junipero.
Yes. And I'm like, why are we always going back to this? But anyways, and then there's also, actually, well, I'll wait to talk about the Easter egg.
I had, like, a whole thing.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry, spoiler. Spoiler for ourselves.
For me.
Yeah. It gets really dark to the point where her husband has to do, like, pull all these extra shifts, and then he starts, like, going on this website called Dumb Dummies, where it's basically, like, people will pay you to do these crazy things, like drink a whole thing of your own piss, or pull your tooth out, or whatever. Excuse me, and it just escalates until it gets to the point where it's like they're both so physically and mentally exhausted that And again, huge spoiler, but he ends up having to kill her. And she's like, I want you to.
And I was thinking, like, the whole time, I was just like, just kill me. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have even wanted to be in that situation.
My two thoughts with that was, like, he mentions, first of all, he went, like, so dark where it was, like, he was literally, like, pulling his own tooth out to get money. And I'm like, I don't know. Like,
I don't think he had to do all that.
Couldn't you, like, he even says, he's like, I could Uber. And I'm like, why didn't you do that?
Why didn't you do that? Also, like, yeah, because at one point, he wears, like, a bunny mask, like, the whole time. And then somebody asked him to take it off. And I'm like, just don't take it off. You don't have to say yes to that one, you know?
Yeah. But so he ends up, and she says, she's like, I want you to do it when I'm not here. So he does it when she is, like, saying an ad. And he puts a pillow over her face and smothers her. And it's, like, I actually teared up. Like, it was
so emotional.
Yeah.
Like, it was really, really sad. Knowing that, especially the conversation they were having where she was telling him, like, I think it's time, like, just do it or whatever. And I was just like, no. Mm-hmm. You know what I love about Black Mirror? And I was going to say this, too, like, at the beginning, is, like, what's so great about this show, and if you haven't watched it, like, genuinely, don't be like Chris. Like, really watch it, because
Don't be like Chris.
Don't be a Chris.
Yeah.
Well, what they do that's just so amazing is that they can set up a story. These episodes are only an hour long. Sometimes they're an hour and a half, depending on the episode, but most of the time they're only an hour. The way that they can set up a story, have you connect with these characters in such a short span of time.
It's crazy.
And set up this whole narrative. It's so well done.
And I will say, like, the reason that this narrative worked is they set up a narrative structure in the beginning that made you really love this couple.
Yeah, and just feel for them, and, like, I don't know. It was so good.
Yeah.
The show, it's just such a good show.
Yeah. So then episode 2,
this one was my favorite
of the season. And here's my theory as to why. It felt like old Black Mirror in that, for the most part, most of the people, not that famous. Kind of random British actors. And I'm like, that's what I need. I don't want famous people in Black Mirror, because it takes me out of the dystopia.
Same. Okay, and that's true, because when this season came out, I think a lot of people were like, oh, just the Americanization of Black Mirror is just getting kind of out of hand. Like, again, episode 1, it was good, but it was like Rashida Jones.
Right.
Who has actually written a Black Mirror episode. She wrote Nosedive, which, so I'm fine with her being on it. Like, I think she is part of the Black Mirror, like, that's fine. But, like, we'll get to this later, but, like, Awkwafina, it's just, like, it's too many American.
It really, like, takes you out of it, because you're not seeing, like, the characters. You're seeing,
like, Awkwafina's in this episode.
Right.
And the thing is, what you were going to say about episode 2 is so true, because, like, what I loved about Black Mirror is I was introduced to so many great British.
Yeah.
Daniel Kaluuya became famous because of Black Mirror. Like, like, Jordan Peele casted him in Get Out because of Black Mirror.
Right.
I became obsessed with, like, so many British actors because of Black Mirror. But, like, in episode 2 was, like, the girl that played Verity was amazing.
So I was listening to this other podcast that I love called Straight Up, and they were saying that I guess they know someone who knows that actress, and she is currently, like, on set filming as a young Nicole Kidman.
I saw that.
And then I heard that before I saw the episode, and watching her, I was like,
oh yeah.
Like, as soon as she came on screen, I was like, that's who they were talking about. That, especially there's a whole scene where she's, like, drinking milk, and I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, baby girl.
Can I say something, speaking of which? Yeah. I've watched Baby Girl twice this weekend.
Why?
Because I realized I love it.
Are you okay? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I just, like,
I love it. It is very good, yeah.
I don't know. So I had to say that since you brought it up. But I didn't think she looked like Nicole Kidman until somebody pointed out, they said they were watching it, and they were like, oh, I thought she looked like Nicole Kidman, and they looked her up and realized she was playing a young Nicole Kidman in the movie, and they were like,
You didn't think she looked like her, though? I was like, wow, that's great casting.
She looked like somebody to me the whole time. I was like, she looks so familiar, and I still don't know who I think she looks like. But I didn't know her from anything.
Yeah. But that episode was my favorite because it was also kind of creepy, where you're really trying to figure out, like, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So the premise is basically, like, the main character works at this food business or whatever, and her old high school, like, the nerd from her high school starts working there, and then things start weirdly changing, where it's like, you know, she's talking about, like, some famous chicken shop in London, and she's like, no, it's Barney's, and everyone's like, no, it's Bernie's.
Yeah.
And then she looks it up, and it's Bernie's, and it's like,
but weird. She knew it was Barney's. Like, so her all of her what she thinks is the truth is being altered. Yes. And so it's like, it's literally an episode about, like, gaslighting, essentially.
Yeah. And so you basically find out that, like, the girl that she bullied in high school is, like, this huge computer nerd and has developed this whole system where basically, because of her pendant, she can change reality. like by like she can make it so like instead like they like explained kind of how it worked like technologically. I didn't really get it.
It's like a dimension thing. It's like what it's like she isn't. It's like she can alter to be in a dimension where that thing is true.
Right. And it's so interesting because it's like she has all the possibilities. Like she literally, this person has made herself empress of the world, but what she has decided to do is get payback on her high school bullies. And it's like, you could have everything you want, but that won't heal you, baby. And I think that's the real nut of the show.
And so I'm curious. So, okay, to me, it was the best episode of the season, or the one I enjoyed the most, because I told you, like, I was into it. Like, I was literally so enraptured. Is that like, I was so enraptured by the episode. It was just so, like, it was so good. It was creepy, but also, like, it was kind of, like, you're just like, what is gonna happen?
Yeah.
And the acting was really good, too. I have to say, though, okay, I'm curious what you thought about, like, the whole, like, bully thing, because I was kind of like, the bully won in the end? Like, I felt a little bit bad for Verity.
I felt bad for Verity, but I also felt bad for... The thing is, I felt bad for Verity, but I also am like, I don't know, you guys are in your 30s now. Like, yeah. Like,
yeah, but they set it up that it was like, she was like, I think really? Bullying can truly traumatize a person. Yeah. And so I was kind of like, I felt like it was interesting seeing the different commentary on the episode, because I think a lot of people, and this, I see this too, obviously, but like, a lot of people saw it as sort of like, you know, a white woman was gaslighting a black woman, and it was like white woman tears, and they were so excited to see at the end that the main character came out on top. And so I definitely see that. But then the other perspective is like, oh, this girl was so bullied, and she was just trying to, like, she was getting back at these people the only, kind of the best way, which is, like, psychologically tormenting
which
them.
is what I always say. I'm always like, you don't want your enemies to die. You want to
psychologically... Yeah. Well, because, like, so the girl that she originally thought... The whole thing is, like, there was, like, a rumor that was started about her, and that's, like, what really was, like, she was kind of tortured in school, because this girl... She thought this girl had started a rumor about her. She basically drove her to suicide.
Yeah.
And she found out that she wasn't actually her. It was the main character who started. And I was kind of like, you know what? Yes, she ended out on top, but sort of fuck her too, because like,
honestly, fuck them both.
Fuck them both. You found out that like this girl was actually a really bad person, because she had lied to her boyfriend the whole time. She was saying, she was like, I don't know, she was weird, but I don't know. Like, it's like, no, you started a rumor about her. Yeah. It like kind of ruined her life. Yeah. And it was interesting.
But it's like, also like, you have to remember, like she said, she's like, yeah, like kids can be cruel. It's like, she was a kid, you know? It's like, it's not like, but I think she was kind of... It's interesting because even before Verity starts doing all this stuff, Maria, who's the main character, is already like, I don't want her working here. She's weird.
Yeah, that's true. And so the ending was, and I see both. I think those are interesting interpretations, because I'm curious like what it was, because Charlie Brooker, is that his name? Charlie Brooker said that his, like, what it was about was just like, it's always about like, I feel like at this point it's just about AI basically now. Yeah. Like every Black Mirror episode, but it's like how what we think is true is being altered and like being manipulated by things. So I think that was sort of, so it's interesting to see both, like to see the different like interpretations of it. I'm not saying one is wrong. I'm just saying like a part of me was kind of like, the bully came out on top. Like she did bully her. I mean, it was pretty bad.
But I feel like that's very Black Mirror, where it's like, it doesn't end happy usually.
No, it does. Well, so she ends up getting control of the pendant at the end, and comes out as she decides to be Empress of the world, and they kind of like allude. I thought it was a little camp at the end. I was like, I didn't like.
I wasn't into the ending. I wasn't even into like how they explained the pendant and stuff. I was like, oh, that's why?
I was kind of hoping, what I was hoping for or thinking was like, really the girl was wrong, and she was just like, she was actually the bad guy the whole time, which kind of was true. What I do love, what I think makes a Black Mirror episode, and it's probably why we're saying that this feels like old Black Mirror, is when the truth comes out at the very end. Yeah. And I think that's what, like, when I think about my favorite Black Mirror episodes, those are the ones where it's like, you don't know the truth until the very end, and that completely changes the whole episode. Because you find out, like, you know, this girl, like, she actually was the one who started the rumor. She was pretty bad. And anyway, so she takes control. She becomes the empress of the world. But when I thought about it, I was like, it does make sense because the whole episode, her boyfriend is saying like, you want to come out on top. You're always like, you always want to be like the top or whatever. So it kind of made sense that was like her first like go-to was like to be empress of the world.
Yeah. That makes sense. And then, so episode 3...
Well, I was just going to really quickly say, too, like, apparently what I was saying earlier was different versions say different things. Oh. So apparently they released, like, different versions of the episode depending, I guess, on where you were. Because so some people... So there's, like, a whole argument, like we were saying, there was, like, Bernie's chicken or Barney's chicken. Mm-hmm. And there's, like, apparently the argument that they have in the office is different for some people. Like, some people saw, like, a different version of it.
What was the version? Do you know?
Well, like, there was something about how she says, like, Barney's wouldn't be spelled with an I-E-S. Like, that was what at least I saw. And then some people said that their versions, they were arguing about, like, a chicken coop or something.
What?
Yeah, it was, like, and then some people said that if they go back, theirs say Barney's, but, like, some people go back and theirs say Bernie's on the hat.
That's interesting.
Yeah, or online or whatever. Yeah. It's crazy.
And that's what I love about Black Mirror.
I know.
Okay, so the 3rd episode was Hotel Reverie. That's the one you didn't like.
Yeah, I couldn't stand it.
Okay, so it was kind of boring, the lead up. There are things I wanted to change. One, Awkwafina don't... Like, again, why do we have Awkwafina and Issa Rae and... what's her name? She plays Caroline in Succession.
Oh, yeah. I love her, though. She's amazing.
But why are we putting, like, famous people in it?
But I want to see not famous. Random. She is, to me, like, a Black Mirror actor. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't call her famous. She's in a lot of great things.
I will say, like, so I liked the premise of it. So it's basically, like, they're remaking, it's like a Casablanca-type movie. And it's basically, like, the actor who's in it, they can replace it with, like, a new famous actor,
but have everything else stay the same.
Everything else stay the same, but the way they do it is like this immersive world. So Issa Rae's character is called like Brandy Friday, that's her name, and she's like, yeah, I'll do it, and she goes into this like black and white film where it's like literally feels so realistic, like she is in the film, and immediately like things start happening where it's like she's interrupting the narrative structure. And I laughed because this one review was like, I feel like this whole thing is how difficult it is to keep the narrative structure of something alive, and I was like, yeah, that's true. But it ends up being like, okay, that one of the tech guys spills coffee on his computer and there's a malfunction, and then time is passing faster for Issa Rae's character inside of there, and so she has a whole relationship with Emma Corrin's character, who's playing the lead in this is so hard to explain, in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's actually like really beautiful, like their romance, and they show like Emma Corrin's character, how her real life and like the real life actress was actually like interested in women, and she ended up like killing herself or whatever, and I think it's really deep.
It reminded me a lot of San Junipero.
Yeah.
Which I think like a lot of people
loved. I did not care about it.
About what?
San Junipero.
I didn't either. So I was gonna say, I was like, am I homophobic or something that I don't like the two gay storylines? But I just was like, I didn't like either of these episodes. I thought they were so boring. Like, I remember San Junipero, I literally fell asleep during.
Really? I just like San Junipero isn't one
I'm not
that,
homophobic. Like... That was just a joke. We can cut that if needed. But I was just joking that like I just feel like it's weird that I didn't like either of those when people like seem to love these two episodes.
Well, notoriously you do enjoy a hot man in work of art, but I do think like I will say I think San Junipero was conceptually good, but again, I like the Black Mirror episodes where it's like this is dark and a twist. Like San Junipero was dark.
And there was no
Or not, sorry, yes. San Junipero is kind of dark, but there wasn't, like, a huge twist, I don't think.
It wasn't dark. I would just say it was, like, maybe, like, a little heartbreaking, but, like, it was also had, like, it was one of the few happy episodes of Black Mirror. I don't even think there are few. I think it was just, like, the one.
Yeah.
And this was sort of also, like, a little heartbreaking, I guess. I don't know. The thing is, so here's what really bothered me. First of all, would you what did you think of that concept of like adding? I don't really understand.
I just don't understand why
they would do that.
Like, why would I watch Casablanca and it's not Grace Kelly but
like
Ariana
John
Grande
Hamm in it or something? Yeah. Like I don't really understand.
But it's supposed to be the same exact movie. But I think it was them taking a dig at like the constant remake culture that we're in, probably. And it's like, well, why do you want to see a remake?
Yeah, probably that was but I was kind of like, that's a weird concept. But then also, and this is like what we were saying earlier, is it just like takes you out of the dystopian storyline when you see Awkwafina and Issa Rae. And like, the thing is, I
love Issa Rae. I think she's a fantastic actress.
I think she normally is.
Yeah, I thought
like her acting in this was awful, especially up against Emma Corrin, who
was fantastic,
phenomenal
in this role. Fantastic.
And something about
the future Elizabeth Bennet. It was announced that they were cast in the new Pride and Prejudice as Elizabeth Bennet. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, I think Issa Rae is a great actor. Like, I don't understand, like, just something about her, like,
she's too,
her acting was almost, like, too, it was, like, Disney Channel. It was, like, too over the top or something.
I don't know if she was right for that role. Like, again, I would have loved just an unknown person.
Yeah.
Being in all of these episodes, honestly. But I think, again, Emma Corrin does an amazing job. Like, they were absolutely stunning in this role. And I like the concept because I like old Hollywood movies. But I think overall, it was just like, wait, why is it because she can't say the last line in the movie, she won't be able to escape this alternate reality and will be stuck in there forever? I think the concept is really throughout, I think, because you see it in a couple of episodes, getting at this idea of like an AI person being a real person. They are fake, quote unquote fake, like computer generated people. But when they get to a certain level, it's like, are they? Mm-hmm. Because, you know, there's a whole thing where it's like they erase Emma Corrin's memory and character and you feel bad for her. And I don't know, like, it's just, but like, it's not even, like, that character isn't even, like, a real person. It's, like, a person playing a person.
Yeah, it was confusing to me when they were,
person.
like, Issa Rae was explaining, like, her background, like, the character, like, the actress's background to the character.
But I think that's why I kind of liked the episode, is because not, like, the whole plot, but just what they're trying to get at is, I think, like, these fake people feeling like real people to us.
Yeah,
eventually.
it wasn't, okay, when I said it was the worst, I don't think it was the worst episode, but I just was like, I really was not into it. Also, like, I'm so pissed thinking about Awkwafina. What about Awkwafina makes people keep, and I'm being serious, like, people keep casting her in things. What about her? Like,
outside of Crazy Rich Asians, like, I'm good.
Do you ever see her acting and you're just like, she does these wide eyes, like, these big eyes, and it's just like, your acting is awful. Like, it's literally so Disney Channel. Like, I don't understand why she keeps being casted in Black Mirror, of all things. Like, we have come such a long way. Like, you look at that episode and compare it to, like, Shut Up and Dance, and you're just like, what?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It just, I don't know.
But anyway, that was definitely my least favorite of the season.
Yeah. But the next one is the Paul Giamatti one, right?
Giamatti. Yeah. Jumanji. Eulogy.
Yes, which I thought was interesting.
I think we're forgetting one. There was one in between. Oh, Plaything or whatever. That was the
oh, is that the next
Bandersnatch
one?
sequel. You know what? I didn't love that one either.
That one has Peter Capaldi in it.
And it's great.
It's a like kind of like a sequel or a prequel.
It's a sequel. It's 10 years. I thought it was a prequel as well, but it was 10 years after Bandersnatch.
Oh, interesting.
And y'all know.
Yeah. And
y'all know I love Will Poulter, so I was so excited for this episode.
Oh, he was barely in it.
Barely in it.
You texted me, you're like, I'm so excited Will Poulter's in the next episode, and I didn't have the heart to like text you back to be like, sorta not.
Yeah, he was not at all. He was like in it for 2 minutes. And the thing that made me mad was they actually put him in like a when the preview for the 7th season came out, he was listed. So you don't list him if he's not actually really in it. So that was false advertising.
Like
I could actually sue Netflix for that.
Well, I'm sure they would pull a Joan is Awful and be like, actually, no. But I will say, so Peter Capaldi, if you don't know, he's been in a bunch of things. I know him from Doctor Who. It's actually the one season of Doctor Who I was like, I'm not gonna watch this. Even though I like him as an actor, I thought he was like just very boring as the Doctor. But I thought his acting in this episode was really good.
It was really good.
Have you looked at pictures of Peter Capaldi young?
No.
Hot.
Really?
I will show you.
Because I thought in this episode he was, and I'm not saying this about the actor, but just like the character, he was so ugly. Like I literally was like, oh my gosh.
They had to make him like really grimy because he's like this guy who like lives for creating these cute little computer things.
It was almost like uncomfortable. You know, I thought about you while I was watching because I was like, I bet Alexa is so upset when he killed the little things.
Oh,
I bet you were so upset.
I was actually very upset.
It made me sad.
But also, again, here's the acting. So, like, you have these two like British detectives, but they're interviewing Peter Capaldi, where it's like the British detectives feel very like original Black Mirror, where they're a little bit like, who are these people? We don't know them. And like their acting is whatever. But then it's like going up against Peter Capaldi, who is like, I can't not see Peter Capaldi, you know? So
maybe because I don't know him well enough that I just was like, wow, his acting is really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was like, either like have famous people with famous people or like have it all.
But see, him I'm not mad at because he's a British actor and I'm like, okay. I get mad at Awkwafina. You know what I mean? Where I'm just like, you or even Miley Cyrus where I'm like, please don't be in this.
That was my least favorite episode
We
of
have
all
an
time.
answer. We have that's somebody's favorite episode answer.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry to that person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked it. I will say I hope they do another sequel to it because that was one of the episodes where I'm like, what's going to happen after? Because the last scene, like, he has, you know, a joint consciousness with everyone and they're just like on the ground. And I was
I didn't care about that one. I was so excited for it and then I was like,
They did have to, it was weird because it set up like a murder and they do have to keep reminding you like, oh yeah, we are talking about a murder.
Yeah.
So that was weird.
Which they kind of answered early on in the episode.
Yeah.
So then the fifth episode to me was, if I had to say an episode behind Bete Noir, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, of my favorite, I would say this one, Eulogy, with Paul Giamatti. To me was one of the best episodes I've seen in a long time. It was so heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good.
It was, but I will say, so basically, like, the premise is, like, his, like, I don't know, post-college girlfriend that he was in love with for 3 years, he finds out that she's died, and
But he hasn't thought about her in, like, years.
Yeah, but it's, like, this service where they're like, can you look at pictures of her and, like, give us some memories of her for her eulogy, literally.
Which
is strange.
I don't really understand that concept because why not, like, what is the difference of just him giving them photo? Like, I don't understand that.
I guess because, like, they were able to piece it together and put, like, a montage of her life type of thing. I don't know. It's what it seemed like. But so he has to, but the problem is, one, he's like, oh, I only have 3 photos of her. And then you find out, like, he does have more, but he's burned her face out of them.
You slowly realize that this person meant a lot to him.
Yeah.
But at first, it's just kind of like an ex that he hadn't thought about in years.
Right. And so the thing is, I'm curious, like, I thought Paul Giamatti, once we got into it and he was kind of describing the way his character was as a boyfriend, I was like, well, you kind of sucked.
Yeah. Well, because the whole thing is, like, again, you find out they were, like, in love with each other. And so this was, like, this is, like, basically ruined his life, like, their breakup. And, but he did some things, like, as they're looking back, so his guide throughout this, like, thing, I don't really know if we're explaining it well, but again, just watch the episode. But his guide is, like, kind of asking him questions like, well, because she played the cello and you find out that they were in a band together, but she didn't play the cello in the band. She played, like, guitar. And so the guide is like, well, she played the cello. Why didn't she play the cello in the band? And he's like, well, because she was better as the guitar. Like, you find out that it's, like, things that he wanted for her. There was just, like, a lot of...
I mean, he literally cheated on her.
He cheated on her. And I think she cheated on him too.
Yeah,
there was a lot of like miscommunication, and it's really an episode about like grief and just like
your first big relationship in your 20s. I think.
And just like the misunderstandings and miscommunication, and it's just like it's really it's really beautifully acted.
Yeah, I think it is too. I think it's an episode about perspective, both like seeing someone else's perspective and like hindsight,
because they're able to look at the pictures and they're actually able to like. What we're not saying is they're able to enter the pictures. So he is like able to go in and kind of like, you know what it reminded me of was, what's that story? The Christmas Story. The one where with the ghosts,
A Christmas Carol?
Christmas Carol, because he was like, the ghosts are able, but like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Where he's able to go through his memories and like see things from a different perspective, sort of. Like, that's what it reminded me of a lot. But Paul Giamatti's acting in it is so, like, it's kind of one of the best things I've seen him in.
Yeah, he does a great job. I also always forget after watching The Holdovers that he doesn't have a crazy lazy eye.
I love him so much.
I do too. Also, the character who played him, like a young Paul Giamatti, I was like, he's cute.
He's cute, yeah.
Not what Paul Giamatti looked like.
I don't
when he
think
was 20.
so.
No.
Yeah.
But and I think it's interesting. I think like Charlie Brooker, when looking at like the themes of his episodes, because he also wrote this show that was so good. I think it was called Soulmate, and it came on AMC like 4 or 5 years ago, and it basically is like Black Mirror, but it's all about this one technological concept where it's like something in your eyes can tell you who your soulmate is, and it sounds so.
Isn't that an episode of Black Mirror?
Is it?
I don't know.
But it sounds stupid and cheesy, but of course it's not, because he takes it and it's like the first episode is like Sarah Snook and her husband, and it's like this technology is new and they're like, well, should we do this? Like, what if we're not each other's soulmate, but we have like 2 kids together? Or there's like a whole episode where it's like, oh, my soulmate is a serial killer. Like, what do I do with that? Like, it's really good.
That's crazy.
And there's like 7 episodes, and it kind of like delves into like how this technology could be like actually really bad.
Yeah.
There was a show that came out around Netflix around the same time that was like a similar premise but worse. Don't watch that one.
Okay.
But
did you ever see his movie? He made a movie during COVID called like Death to 2020.
Oh, I heard
it.
About
had Hugh Grant in it.
Oh,
it was not good. I was excited to watch it because I was like, oh, it's like the Black Mirror creator, and like it has all these people in it, and it was just like not good.
So as a writer, I was listening to like a lot of interviews. I find him to be very interesting because he has like a comedy writing background, which I think you can see.
Yeah.
But he also used to write video game reviews, which is why I was like
that character.
Yeah, I was like that.
I wonder if he seems kind of interesting. If you ever seen him in interviews, he's very like, he's very funny and very like animated, but like,
yeah,
I could see him also having kind of like not an angry side, but sort of like an edge to him, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing about Black Mirror that I think is so good, and we were trying to explain to Chris, like, it's also, like, very funny. Like, there is, a really good humor to it.
Right.
I think about even, like, some of the darkest episodes, and, like, they're funny, you know?
But I think, like, he is very much, as we all are, he is focused on, I think, like, love and death. And that really comes into play, like, in a lot of, and I think that's why it makes it, like, so good, because it's like this new technology but very like base human fears and anxieties. And
so the last episode was a sequel to USS Callister.
Yeah,
it's called Into Infinity,
which everyone people were like, that's my favorite episode. I love that episode. Do you love that episode?
I love USS Callister.
Why?
It's so good. Are you serious? I remember it might have been actually like one of the other like most early episodes I watched, because it's so like cinematic and just like that. Okay, the opening scene where it's like a Star Trek, you think you're watching like a 50s like Star Trek episode, and then it just like cuts to him in the elevator. To me, it's just like, it's so good. Like, I just loved that episode.
I think I just don't like Star Trek type stuff. So I think
but it's not. It's like, it's.
I know it's not, but like I was just like, what is this?
Oh, I think it is such a good episode. I did kind of question that they were making a sequel. I was like, okay. But it was good. It was fine. Matthew and I watched it last night because he wanted me to wait for that one. He was like, I want to watch that one. And it was fine. I don't know if they needed to make a sequel, but all of them were in it, and that was
because it is one that I do think about a lot of, like, so the whole thing is like he's cloned people in a digital space, so they're like real people but cloned digitally, trapped in this like video game that he has created. And so we go back to that and we find out like all the stuff that they're doing, but then it ends up being like the main girl, she gets her consciousness put back into her body, but then everyone else on the ship has to just live through her eyes.
I know,
and it's just like,
that's definitely the thing about USS Callister I was gonna say earlier, is like when it comes, like, there's some episodes where they're just like funny, and I would say that one's just like mostly humorous.
Yeah, but I do think so, like there's this whole thing where she has to go into like the heart of the game where there's like a clone of the original guy, where like even she's kind of thrown back because he's not as evil as he is in the first episode. He's like, I'm a nice guy, like I'm just gonna help you, and you kind of believe for a second that he is nice and he's gonna help her, and he's like, but my condition is like, you have to stay here with me.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's awful what he does, but it's also like, I mean, he has been alone.
I know.
And he will be alone for all eternity.
But it reminded me of the original episode because that is kind of how he was too. He was also nice. Like, he was kind of this unassuming, like, nerdy, quiet guy. And then he's doing some, like, fucked up things.
Yeah.
And so you kind of feel that way too, where you're just like, oh, like, you're just a weirdo. And the thing is, I was thinking about it, and I know you had a question for me that's similar to this, but I was like, if I were in a situation where I got to, like, use that, and they go way more into it in this episode of, like, the game itself, but, like, if I got to do something like that where I could, like, make up my own reality, like, that would be cool. I just wouldn't be, like, as weird about it as him.
No.
Like, I wouldn't force people to be in it.
The concept of that game, and I'm sure we will get to this technology soon, I'm like, I would play video games if it was like that.
I know. That's what I mean.
But then I'm like, it reminds me of, like, that scene from Inception where it's like these people are living in their dreams, so now all they do is sleep.
But you know what it reminded me of was Severance. I feel like USS Callister was the original Severance because it's like the outie versus innie, like they're having to communicate with, like...
Interesting.
Yeah, don't you think so? I feel like...
I think Severance came out first. I'm like, I would play video games if that meant that I was going to be completely immersed in this.
USS Callister was 2017.
Oh, okay. I thought it was last season. That's crazy. It all kind of blurs together now. But, like, overall, I think this season was good. There were, like, touches of original Black Mirror that I liked, but still touches of new Black Mirror that I was kind of like...
I agree.
We don't need this, you know?
So there were some interesting Easter eggs in it, though.
Okay.
I thought they were kind of interesting. We kind of discussed this, but in the first episode, Common People, they go to Juniper Lodge where they stay. Like, that's like their anniversary place, and that's a reference to San Junipero, which is also where two lovers like went to, you know, stay.
Yeah.
And then the couple singing at the lodge, they're singing Anyone Who Knows What Love Is, which is a song that's basically, it's like essentially the Black Mirror song. Like, they use it in it's the one that's like, da, 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 da. Like, if you know, like, it was used in 15 Million Merits. She sang it, and then they've just kind of like, I think it's been featured in like every season as like an Easter egg. I don't know why they love that song for some reason. It's like that specific song. And then also we talked about this, but when Rashida Jones has her first ad break in that episode, she talks about Honey Nugs from the brand Ditta, and that's the company that Maria works for in the second episode. And then in the second episode, there's a whole conversation about Bernie's Chicken or Barney's Chicken, and that's the restaurant chain where Kenny works in Shut Up and Dance. And it's also featured, it's also mentioned in like other episodes. Okay. And then just a couple more that Ditta's office shares real estate with Tucker Soft, which is the tech company that did Bandersnatch.
Yeah.
And then in USS Callister, like in the sequel episode, the song that remember the pink player girl? She's like in all pink. Yeah. She's listening to a song, and it's the Ashley O or Miley Cyrus song.
Oh, yeah, which is actually a bop.
I listen to it unironically all the time.
Which is a 9 Inch Nails song that she and then they redid it. Here's some that I noticed. So in the Issa Rae episode, she lives on Juniper Drive. Yes. In the Callister episode, she's at St. Juniper Hospital. Mm-hmm. Also in the Callister episode, do you remember the episode from the last season where it was the girl where it was basically like the devil was talking to her type of thing and she had to save the world? Yes. That was a good episode. Yes. Yeah. So she's in this sequel to Callister. She's one of the people that's like trying to shoot down the ship.
Oh, yeah. Her name, you mean?
No, it's her. It's the actress. Oh. It's the actual actress. I know because she's also stars in a show called We Are Lady Parts that I love.
Oh. Yes, she is.
Yeah,
I do know
so
her.
she is in that. And then there was also throughout the season, if you'll notice they're using like the same little like technology that they put on their temples. Mm-hmm. So they're really like building a universe here, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, there's probably so many more that we've missed. I think there was also one that was like in the Playtest, whatever. Actually, Playtest is an episode too. But Plaything was in this season. But there was like posters up in the office that it was like the walled. It was like they were direct references to some of the episodes. I can't remember what the episodes were called, but
there was something in the Hotel Reverie one where it was like, they had throughout it like they would have like the Starfleet show, like they would have posters through it or whatever. Yeah, which I think I love when shows do that.
I do too.
I love whenever people are like, "Do you want to hear why this Toy Story thing was referenced in Finding Nemo?" And I'm like, "Tell me." Yes,
there are a lot of references in Pixar.
Yes,
that's
which
true.
I live for.
Really?
I don't know why I find
that.
those to be. I'm like, bring a little bit of joy to my monotonous life, please. Yeah. Yes, show me Woody on a turtle in Finding Nemo.
Black Mirror really, they're letting you know we are in the one universe. They really want you to know that.
Which is interesting because some of these things you're like, how could this all be in one universe? But some of it is like very clearly, sorry, I don't know why I'm sitting like this.
Yeah, okay.
Is very clearly it's like, oh, you're seeing how this technology has progressed or the origin of certain technology.
Yes.
And I think that's very interesting.
So I'm curious, before we move on, what are some of your favorite episodes?
Okay, so this is the one that I had to, my all-time favorite episode. I was telling you before, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. Oh my god. Oh, Shut Up and Drive?
Dance.
Sorry, Shut Up and Dance. I can never remember the name of it, and I had to Google. I can't say what I had to Google because it's the twist.
I can't believe you Googled that.
The way I Googled it, I was like, I will be flagged. I think...
So you got flagged. Did they have like a comment on Google of like...
They were like, you should report things to... And I was like, yeah, I know.
You might be being watched right now.
Yeah, I know. It's like, whatever. But I think that is one of... It is...
I think
the way they
yeah.
do that twist in that episode is like... And I feel weird saying that that's my favorite episode.
No,
it's
me
pretty
too.
Fucked up.
It's yes, go ahead.
It is like the way they do it is is like amazing acting. Writing.
Yes, I think it's my favorite episode.
Yeah.
And it's what I was saying earlier with like introduced me to Alex Lothar, who is like, if you don't know, he's from the End of the Fucking World, which is a great show.
I have heard good things about that.
Oh my gosh, Alexa, assignments.
Okay.
But he's an amazing actor, and like I just thought that episode was so good. It's definitely my favorite episode.
I have a proposition for you. No, this will be a joyful one. Okay. Depending on how late you can stay tonight, I say when Chris comes home. He lives here. He owns this home, actually. We watch, an episode of Pop Culture Jeopardy, but then we
slowly transition.
We pressure him into watching a Black Mirror episode, but you have to be able to stay for a whole Black Mirror episode.
Okay,
but you have to start with Pop Culture Jeopardy, or else he's gonna
bounce.
He's gonna burn this house to the ground.
Okay, but one episode.
So we have to decide, and I go between either White Bear or this one.
I know, but I think so. I was gonna say quickly that my second favorite is probably White Bear.
Yes. So wait, what was your first favorite?
Shut Up and Dance.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was also my favorite. And then
White Bear was my favorite one for a really long time. And you know what I learned today is that Charlie Brooker wrote that episode in 48 hours because he had written it, and then they were like, hey, we need you to send us something, and he decided he really just didn't like anything he wrote, so he rewrote the entire episode in like a mad rush within 48 hours. And it's crazy.
It's funny because it's like, to me, like one of the best episodes.
One of the best episodes, yeah.
So yes to what you were saying. I agree. I think we should do Shut Up and Dance.
Okay.
And then I was going to say, I also love 15 Million Merits.
So it's interesting because a lot of people do, and that's one that I like barely remember. Like you were asking me about the plot earlier, and I was
so
like,
good.
I probably just need to rewatch it because I think.
Well, I was trying to figure out how to explain it to Chris because Chris was asking.
I think it's one of those things like, so I think it's like the second episode ever,
it is,
right?
Yeah, so like, you're probably like, what am I watching?
Yeah, like I literally went from this man fucked a pig to that. And
to a girl singing
this was
on,
like 2014,
yeah.
and I was just like, what?
Oh, it's so...
So I think it's just kind of like
Daniel Kaluuya's acting in that. I always feel like I'm saying his... Like, I rushed through his last name because I feel like I'm saying it weird.
Earlier I said Michael B. Gordon. Or sorry, I said...
You said Michael G. Borden.
That's what I said. I don't know why I said it. Came out. It was really embarrassing.
Kaluuya. I think it's Kaluuya. He's one of the best actors to me. Like...
Yeah.
Whatever. But his acting in that is insane. I also love White Christmas.
Okay, is that the John Hamm one?
It is, which is like sort of an early, like, they got star power in this episode, but it doesn't count because it's such a good episode.
I can't remember anything about that one.
I
think I need to rewatch some of them.
It's so good. That was another where it was like a twist at the end.
Yeah. Oh, I also love Hang the DJ in terms of like a happy side
But I haven't watched it since that. It was my first episode, and I've never watched it since.
I don't know.
He chokes on a carrot in the episode, and it really bothered me.
Oh, why?
Yeah, because it upset me. I imagined myself choking on a carrot, and I haven't thought. And then also USS Callister is one of my favorites.
Okay. Which, like, you're not alone in that.
Yeah.
That is a big majority. But so our question of the week this week was, we asked you all, what were your favorites?
So we got a couple.
Okay.
But this kind of made me laugh because So Ty said no favorite, only least favorite, and it's...
He's only watched one episode. I talked about him
Okay.
with him this weekend.
Okay, and it's the pig.
Yes. He said yeah.
Actually,
I don't even know if he watched it.
Interesting. Then how can you say it's your least favorite?
Yeah. It's trolling.
Probably should be everyone's least favorite.
I
have some least favorites, though.
Okay, what's your least favorite?
My least favorite is... I can't remember what it was called. It was like Man on Fire or something like that. What was it called? It was so boring. Oh my god. What was it called? Men Against Fire.
What was that
It,
one?
to me, was so boring. It was this one. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it.
Oh, is that the one with the dogs?
No, the dog one is my other least favorite.
I hate that one.
I hate that one.
Like I said, I hate the Miley Cyrus one. I fucking hate that one.
Yes, so...
I don't think Miley Cyrus is a good actress. I don't want to see her on my
No.
screen. And I like her in general.
You know what, though? I thought that episode when I watched it was not that bad. Because I remember, like, when it came out, I was like, But then when I watched it, I was like, this storyline is intriguing. But I do agree it's definitely one of the weakest episodes.
I hate that.
And I love the song from it. I listen to the song all the time. So that's what kind of also, like, I'm like,
Yeah.
But I'll never watch it again.
I can't think. The thing is, I can't think of my least favorite episode because I feel like I just blocked them out.
You know, everybody hates the Waldo episode.
What's that one?
It was like the cartoon. He was like... I didn't hate it. I actually thought it was good, but people hate it. Waldo. The Waldo moment. It's that one. With the little bear, blue bear.
Oh, that looks familiar.
Yeah, I honestly barely remember it because I don't really... But, like, I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah.
So we did get... Alyssa said that the Miley Cyrus one was her favorite.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alyssa.
And then Matthew said that USS Callister is his favorite.
Again, not alone.
But what was funny was when I first asked him, he was like, my least favorite is the pig one. I was like, you can't have that answer. We already have that answer.
Yeah, I will say I actually don't hate the pig one because again, the way
I think it was good. Yeah.
The way they did it, I was like, okay, crazy premise, wrote this well.
It was well written and it obviously drew people in because people kept watching.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a crazy way to come out of the gate with like a brand new show, but like I think it really started that buzz.
Yeah, I do love Nosedive. I think Nosedive is a really good one.
Is that
That's the like rating one?
Yeah, that one is good. She does with Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah,
does amazing acting.
I just thought that I remember like really liking that one.
Yeah, but well, in other news of feels like a Black Mirror
episode.
This
is a Black Mirror episode.
Katy Perry has now been in space and come back.
In all of 10 minutes. I swear, I was telling Alexa this earlier, like, we were watching it live at work, or not, if work is listening, but we were watching it, and, like, we were like, wow, this all happened before, she went to space and back before, like, 9 a.m. Before
when
10
I heard
a.m.
that this was happening, and, like, it was a whole thing, because it was like, oh, it's like an all-female crew, I was like, I just think we can do better things for all female.
You know what? And you know what pisses me off about that? And I'm gonna say, because this whole journey, as entertaining as it is, and like we were like literally waiting for them to come out. Like we just thought it was hilarious. But I'm also like, pisses me off because their whole thing, they were all being interviewed. I watched each of their interviews, and they were all like, it was about like, you know, women going to space, and we're like adding. Like I'm like. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Why do I care? Like, that's not the thing here. First of all, you guys are...
It would be, if it was like, oh, we're going to space on a space mission and it's an all-female crew, I'd be like, hell yeah. But it's like, you're just going to space and popping back down.
By Jeff Bezos, which is like, don't sit here and talk to me about planet Earth when his company is funding you guys going to space.
It's crazy.
The thing that's probably destroying our Earth.
Yes. And my thing that, okay, I actually think this detail is very funny that when they were interviewing Gayle King, she informed us that apparently Katy Perry sang
What a Wonderful World.
What a Wonderful World as they were like looking at the Earth.
She also went up, I just saw a video, she was up there and released her set list for her new tour, I guess. It was something like that.
Which, like, it feels like a Black Mirror episode.
It's
it really
insane.
does. And
she unveiled her Lifetime's tour set list in space. I'm like, so you were making it about yourself then.
Yeah, it is. Like, why is Katy Perry, of all the people that we're going to send to space, why is Katy Perry in that?
I said this at work today, though. I was like, because she's done... When you're that rich and that successful, it's why those people went on the Titanic submarine that exploded. There's nothing else for you to do. Like, you are going to do stupid shit like that because you're just at another level where it's like, what's next? Going to space. Did you see the Kardashians were there? I was like, what do you got? What? Okay, our two space experts, Kris Jenner and Khloe Kardashian, are now going to speak on this.
Yeah.
Like, why are we?
And also, so I was talking to, again, friend of the tie, yeah, about this weekend. And he was like, well, like, have they explored every continent, and I'm like, no, I think the thing is, like, regular life won't do it for them anymore.
No.
Like, it has to be space or nothing.
She has kids, too. I was like, that is really kind of messed up that you're
What's crazy to me is that Orlando Bloom is down at the launch pad waiting for her.
Please. I love Orlando Bloom.
I do, too. Why?
Why?
I'm like, what do you think they talk about? Like, I've seen him recently, like, in interviews and stuff, where it's just like, he's just like a dude, and then Katy Perry's like, I'm putting a gasoline pump in my ass and going to space, bitch.
She's insane. She's literally insane. Did you see her kiss the ground when she came down? I'm like, you were gone for 10 minutes. Yes, she and Gayle King.
To be fair, going into space
it'd be insane.
But, like, you signed up to do it.
But you signed up to do it. And also, like, and Gayle King came out. Gayle King actually has a fear of flying and went up there. I was like, what is wrong? And Oprah was there. I was like,
that's like being like, oh, I don't know how to swim.
Of course, Oprah was like, bye. Like, you know, she doesn't care probably what happened.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But the whole thing is so insane.
Oprah, I think, would never.
Oprah would never, but she can send Gayle up there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, again, it's such a waste on our resources, and like,
it's not impressive. I just couldn't really get over them being like, we're holding space for more women to do this. I'm like, that is not impressive to me.
Let's do other things like maternity leave.
Yep.
We don't need to go to space. We need a break.
I don't need to go to space. I'm good.
I'm good. I
can see the moon actually from here.
I would love more bodily rights right here on Earth.
They were talking so much about the moon. I can see the moon from here. I'm good.
Like, I have no desire. Well, space really freaks me out. But
it scares me.
I think, like, to make it like this weird political thing, and I think it's also because Katy Perry's like, I need to stay relevant.
Yes.
After my catastrophe of women's world or whatever.
And just in general, her career is,
and it's like, just whatever.
A little stagnant.
But once again, like, I don't need you to fight for women to go to space. Unless again, it's like, oh, you know, like, more female actual astronauts, phenomenal. Put them up there. Put that little bubble thing on their head. Send them into space. But you're just going up there, releasing your set list, and being like, this is for women.
They all looked so good, too. They had a full glam squad.
Yes, I was looking at the picture of them. I was like,
they looked beautiful.
This is so fucked up.
It's so weird. Also, like, so William Shatner went to space, and he said...
What a sentence.
Well, he, like, a while ago, and he said that it made him really kind of depressed. He thought it was going to be really exciting, but he got up there and was just like, wow, I miss Earth. And I miss, like, what are we doing to Earth? Like, this is what's going to, like, happen. Like, why would I... He was kind of just like... It was sort of just like, why would I go to space when we have this beautiful Earth? Like, it just made him... And so I'm just like, ever since, like, that would make me not want to go to space, too. You know? Like, it's just...
Honestly, like, the space, like... I have to, like, not think about space.
No, it's so scary.
It really scares me. Like, the ever-expanding universe is, like, horrific.
What do you think is scarier? The ocean? Like, if...
Space.
What would you... So, space or the... So, what would you rather do? The Blue Voyager, whatever the fuck it's called, or the Titanic immersion thing?
Okay,
submersion thing.
They all died.
No, I'm not saying... Okay, what would you rather do, though? Like
death not on the...
yeah, like, if you were to either... Okay, you can get in this Titanic... Pre it happening, the Titanic submersion thing or the Blue Voyager thing, which their spacesuits were good. They looked like Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I actually think the ocean is a little bit scarier. For some
I do
reason.
too. I think I would rather do the space
because it feels much more difficult to get under like tons and tons of water, as we know.
I'm actually getting upset thinking about it.
And like we just don't know that much about the ocean. And again, like...
There's also creatures down there. I'm not saying there's not creatures up there, but I'm just like, you know...
Like, have you ever watched those TikTok videos where they're like, this is how deep, like, the Titanic is, and it's, like, 57 Eiffel Towers, and you're like...
So dark down there.
It's so crazy.
I don't thinking about it.
But yet, let's just put all this fucking chemicals into our fucking climate that we already have destroyed.
Yeah.
For women. Apparently.
It's all just, it really is kind of sickening. And also, you know how expensive it was to get a seat on that thing, probably?
Oh my God, I know.
I'm just like, what are we doing, you guys?
It's so stupid. It's so, like, I understand. However, I will say, like, the advent of human technology is crazy in that less than 100 years we are, like, just sending Katy Perry to space when it's, like, we went to the moon in 1969.
Yeah.
Thank you, Even Stevens, for that song. But I'm like, okay, but this is just like such a prime example of how we just take technology and it's just like, now we're ruining it.
Yeah.
Now we're making it stupid. We're releasing our set list in space. And I'm sure Katy Perry was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to release my set list in space. People are going to think it's iconic. And it's like, no.
No one cares. No one cares about your set list. Or her concert's like going to sell out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
But I think she's just a victim to
she
like
should have sang
declining
E.T.
fame. I literally thought that the whole time. But she said she was like...
You're so supersonic.
Beautiful. But she said, she literally was like, I didn't think it was appropriate to sing one of my songs. It's not about my songs.
Then then I saw that video of her releasing her set list. I was like, are you kidding? So you did make it about yourself.
In space and you're like, oh right, let me send a tweet.
Yeah.
Let me post something. I'm here to say like...
Well, she literally like she was holding a thing of it and there's cameras on the thing. So she like showed it in front of the camera. That's what it was.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, no, it's so stupid.
That's actually worse, I think.
Yeah, I can show you the video right now.
They're like, bring anything into space. She's like, my set list?
And a daisy. She brought a daisy because her daughter's name is Daisy.
Yeah, which is also, I think, stupid.
Daisy Bloom? Oh my God! Daisy Bloom? Are you joking me?
I think instead of all these stupid laws we're creating,
Orlando,
we need a law
please.
to like just name children for celebrities.
Let me
name your baby.
I need to save Orlando. Actually, do you think he's a good guy? Sometimes I think not.
I don't think, honestly, most celebrities are.
I think Bill Burr is a good guy.
What happened?
He was very nice. But I don't... I sometimes am like, there's no way Orlando Bloom's a good guy.
I mean, it's just wild that him and Katy Perry are married.
Like, what is that?
What's going on there?
I don't know. Should we save him?
What do you think Matthew would do if you told him you were going into space?
Well, I was telling people today, like... Because it's just, like, so crazy that, like, she was, like, willing to, like, leave her family.
Yeah.
But I was like, I think Matthew would go into space. He loves space.
Interesting. What would you do if he was like, I'm going to go into space?
I'd be like, no. I think Ashton Kutcher tried to do that, and Mila Kunis was like, no.
Yeah. Which also, like, he already has enough bad press.
Well, then I forgot Katy Perry is like she comes from a very religious family, which I'd forgotten, and she was telling the AP reporter that she her family was all down there and that her mom was like, she was like, yeah, my mom was actually like, she knew it was going to be okay, but she was like, I'm sure she was speaking in tongues under her breath as she does. And I was like, oh my God.
Whoa,
yeah.
what?
And I was like, oh, I forgot they're like very religious.
Yeah. I didn't think she still talked to her family.
Oh, she's very close. The whole thing with why she went on this, she decided that it was a good idea for her to do this was because she needed like a sign from God. And the sign was that the name of the spacecraft was called the Tortoise. And then there was like an outline of like, it was something else. And those two things were nicknames that her mom gives her. So she was like, those are signs from God that I should go on this. And I was like, it's your money. I think it's also money. That you're like a billionaire.
Yeah. I think it's that you're bored billionaire who's lost. But anyways, speaking of being very down to earth, the show of the current season, I would say, like, someone asked me yesterday, friend of the pod, Liz, she was like, what show are you watching? Like, what's the new good show? And I was like, The Pitt.
I know, everybody loves it.
It is so good. Like, even if you don't like medical shows, it is not like a typical medical show.
Yeah.
So The Pitt, basically, it takes place at an ER in Pittsburgh, and
That's why it's called The Pitt.
Also because it's like The Pitt, because it's the ER.
It's the Pits.
It sucks, yeah. What was it? Oh, so it's kind of like 24, where each episode is 1 hour of their 15-hour shift, which is crazy because I haven't seen a 15-episode show
I know. I've heard a lot of people say that like TV is kind of back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm gonna pour my wine real quick because I'm fresh out. Today we're drinking Scott Peterson Rocks.
Scott Peterson, did he kill somebody?
Maybe a different one.
I swear there are so many Petersons that have killed somebody.
It's a pretty common name.
No, but it's always like the killer that killed his wife is always named Peterson.
Well, I'll look him up later.
Okay. Just wondering if he made that
blood wine.
Yeah, like
just kidding.
What is this?
This is very nice wine. Thank you, Scott Peterson. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so yeah, it's 15 episodes, but it doesn't feel like it goes by pretty quickly.
Was it released weekly?
Yes, but I started watching it. There was like 10 or so episodes out, so I watched it like pretty quickly. And I do love a good medical drama. I think I've watched almost all of the big ones except for I never watched Grey's Anatomy. I tried, but like by the time I was able to, it was like there's 75 seasons, so like
I've
it's
tried. It's just not a good show in my opinion.
It's too soap opera.
Yes.
I I love Call the Midwife. I love Nurse Jackie. I love The Good Doctor. I loved House. House was amazing. And I love medical stuff.
Because you being a big Hugh Laurie fan.
I do love Hugh Laurie. Ooh.
Cool. Okay.
But so what makes this show different, I think, is it's not very soap opera-y. It is very realistic. Like, it feels like this is what doctors and nurses in the ER go through, like, regularly. And there are some, like, dramatics to it where it's like they're very much playing into, like, certain political things where it's like, you know, oh, these are like anti-vaxxers or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's like really. And the thing is, they do flashbacks to, like, COVID, which normally, I'll be honest, when shows, like, talk about COVID and it's too much, I'm kind of over it because, like, I lived through COVID, so I'm just kind of, like, I don't want to, like, maybe in 20 years, I'll be like, yeah, sure, let's get some COVID content. But
Remind me to say something after this, but yeah, continue.
Yeah. They do it really tastefully, though, I think, where it's not too much. It's kind of like you're getting the, like, yeah, this is probably PTSD from the stress of working during COVID, which I think is great. The lead actor is played by Noah Wiley, and he was also in ER, and it's also created by two people who made ER, like, or the producers or whatever. So it's kind of similar in that vein, but it doesn't have, like, all the drama where it's like, oh, like, it's very real in that you watch, like, ER or Grey's Anatomy where it's like, oh, they're making out in the staff closet or whatever. It's very clear, like, they don't have time for it.
Really quick, somebody was like, because, like, it's like the 75th season of Grey's Anatomy is coming out, and somebody was like, can somebody just bomb this hospital already? And people were like, they have did. 3 times.
Yes, they're running, it's so crazy. But, and so, like, and I think what is, it really touches on things about, like, the American healthcare system where it's like, the administrator of the hospital comes down. She's like, you need to get your patient review rates up. And he's like, well, we need more nurses and you won't hire more nurses. And she's like, well, we don't have the beds. And he says, we have the beds. You just don't want to hire the staff. And it's like very true. She's like, there's a national nursing shortage. And it's like, yeah, well, why would people want to do this? It looks.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
It sounds awful. But it also at the same time, like, it just sounds like
exciting.
Yeah, I think I texted you. I was like, while I was watching, I was like, sometimes I'm like, should I become a doctor? Like, should I become a nurse? And then the next scene was literally this girl where she accidentally dropped a scalpel into someone's foot, and I was like, that was God telling me no.
Yeah.
He said, girl, no. But I think like the acting is very good, and it's interesting because when they get to, like, it's not. The end of each episode is definitely like I want to find out what's going to happen next, but it doesn't feel like one conclusive, like, like, it feels real. It feels like this is, and I feel like a lot of other medical dramas will do, like, you know, you're watching, like, from the minute 1 to the minute 50, it's like this 1 or 2 patients that you're following their thing. But it's like throughout the episode, it feels very real in that, like, the doctors sit with these patients for like 5 minutes. You learn a little about them, and then they have to go, like, help take someone's spleen out, and you learn a little bit about that patient. And then they have to go, like, help this guy whose leg was crushed in a thing. You know, like, it feels very realistic in that, like, yeah, most doctors don't have time to just sit there with every patient for 30 minutes, especially in an ER. And I just think, like, the characters feel very real, very, very realized. A lot of, like, medical people in the field have been going through and they're like, this is the most accurate medical show I've seen in a long time. And I love, like, medical stuff. Like, I love learning about that kind of stuff. So, like, I don't really care about, like, the drama stuff. Like, I don't care who's hooking up with who. I don't care. I'm like, give me a patient who is blue in the skin and let's figure out what's going on there, you know?
Yeah.
But, and that's also what I love about it is, a lot of the stuff where they, like, are figuring out what's wrong with these people, it's like on a lot of medical shows it'll be like, oh, like, I figured out that she has a tick that's embedded between her toes and, like, that's been causing her, like, to be on the verge of death. Like, it's, like, very realistic things. I think that makes it, which sounds like it would be boring, but it's very interesting. I will say, so you asked, would you like it? I think, yes, you would like it. However, you are squeamish, and this is some of the best, like, they show a baby giving birth, and it's like,
huh?
Or sorry, they show a person giving birth to a baby.
Oh, no!
Oh my God, sorry. That was a really crazy slip. Can you imagine?
No.
They show a person giving birth, and I was like, that's the most realistic portrayal of birth I've ever seen on television. Or like, you know, you'll see
which
like,
you probably loved because aren't you obsessed with childbirth?
I just think like, I mean, I love Call the Midwife.
Not to call you out, but
No,
like, aren't you like
yeah.
obsessed with childbirth?
Yeah, like I'm obsessed with like the concept.
Wasn't that you?
I'm obsessed with like, this sounds weird, but like the female anatomy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So it was you.
Once again, don't need to send it into space, but like,
right.
let me learn about like it's crazy that it's like you grow a whole child in you and then you push it out.
Yeah. I think I would like to watch it based on just everybody talking about it because it is one of those word of mouth shows.
Yeah.
Like word of mouth shows are back.
Yeah.
But I think even though I've actually never heard anyone other than you in real life talk about it, other than just like online.
Yeah, it will be nominated.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure because the main actor I think is very good in it. I've heard he has like amazing scene, like really emotional scenes, so I'm sure he'll be nominated. But I was just gonna say really quickly that I do agree. I am very squeamish, so I don't think I'd be able. But I want to watch it. I wish I could.
I would say for you, here's what I would suggest. Is give it a try. If it's too much for you, then just don't continue. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the harm in trying?
Because
you can't fast forward.
Things get stuck in my head. So if there is something gross that I see, like I won't be able to like get it out.
There are like in like episode 2, there is like one gross scene where I'm like Molly would not want to watch that. But some of it is not like I would say most of it isn't necessarily gross, but it is like they are operating on people. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like that.
Oh, okay.
I usually have to like fast forward through that and stuff, so might be a hard one for me.
Again, give it a try, see if you can.
I do think we'll see it at the Emmys though, based on what I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it definitely will be. Also, did you know that Michael Crichton is apparently suing them because he was part of the creators of ER, which I didn't know, and he was suing them. He's the one who did Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
And Westworld, I think. Mm-hmm. I didn't know he also did ER, and he was like, "Oh, this is so similar to ER, like this is ER/IP," and I'm here to tell you, it is not. Yeah, it is very different.
It sounds better, like it. Yeah, because isn't ER kind of like a soap opera-ish too? Yeah.
Like this, it's just very realistic. Like I would say The Pitt is one of the best shows on television right now. It's phenomenal.
I have heard that.
Noah Wyle, also hot. Oh, which helps.
That is a daddy if I've ever seen one. Because I think I talked about this on the show before, but it's like sometimes I think people throw that word around a little too loosely. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, Cillian Murphy, daddy, but I'm like, there is like I would say Noah Wyle. Is that? Yeah. Would probably really define that term.
And I also love that in terms of medical drama, it's very diverse in its casting. Like one of the main characters has a sister who is like very like she is autistic, and so she knows how to deal with like patients who are autistic autistic, so she like talks about that. And then there's like a woman who comes in with sickle cell and they aren't treating her because they think she's a drug addict, and one of the doctors is like, she has sickle cell anemia and it's like a horrendously painful condition. You need to be giving her pain medication. But like people like it's a very like person of color condition, so like it goes untreated a lot, or like people don't understand it, which I think is interesting.
And I don't know if you knew that apparently there's a lot of nepo babies in the show, but they're actually all like very good. Yeah. But Bryan Cranston's daughter is in it.
Oh, who does she play?
I think the girl that's autistic. Her name is Taylor Dearden or something.
She's my favorite character. Dr.
Is it
King.
Mel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah, she's great.
She's Bryan Cranston's daughter, which like I don't see that. That's crazy. Yeah, but
that's very maybe in the eyebrows.
I don't know.
She does a very good job. Yeah, I love the cast. I love it's great. Highly recommend.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
When I'm not squeamish anymore, I don't know. But I'd love to watch it. I've heard really great things, so.
Yeah. Again, I don't think there's anything crazy gross in the first episode in terms of like bodily fluids. Yeah. So like give it a try, see what you think. And if it's too much, then you don't have to continue.
Yeah.
It is a low stakes viewing.
You know what's high stakes viewing?
Okay, tell me about this.
Okay, so I don't watch Big Brother, but this I had to talk about because
I don't know anything about this, so.
Okay, do you know who Mickey Rourke is?
Okay, I do know the name. I thought that was a baseball player for some reason.
He was a boxer turned actor or whatever, but he was a former boxer, and then he is also an actor. He has had a lot of like troubles in his life, but he's sort of like
the troubles.
Well, he's like a very I think he's like he said, I think he's had like drug problems. I don't really know the extent of his. I could be wrong about the drug problems, but there's just something about him that like made him have to like redeem himself. Like,
okay.
So he kind of like had like a renaissance, I guess, when he was in the movie The Wrestler. He like won an Academy Award for it, I believe.
Never.
He was also in Iron Man 2.
Oh. Also never seen it.
I used to fall asleep to it every night at one point in my life.
That's crazy. It's very clear, like, I am not interested in things that are made for men.
Oh.
Usually.
Also made for Molly.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
But no, I'm like, is it Pride and Prejudice?
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that is kind of true for you. That is true for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's just like, but somehow now, I guess his career has really taken a dive because he's on Big Brother, which, you know.
I've never seen Big Brother. My parents wouldn't let me watch it when I was little because they thought it was, like, inappropriate.
Well, I think it is. I mean, I don't know. It's like, it's one of those shows where it's like they just film them 24/7. And I think it comes out every...
It was still on.
Yeah. Oh, probably season... I don't even know.
Yeah.
But he's on the new season. And I think, like, clearly, again, like his career... But JoJo Siwa is also in the new season.
What? What is her career? That's...
Exactly. But that's who I would expect to see on Big Brother. Because she does stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, like, Mickey Rourke... And so he's in his 70s now. So he comes into the house, right?
Oh, God. And
he comes up to JoJo Siwa and he goes, "Where's the smoke room?" And she's like, "Oh, I'll show you the smoke and vape room." And she walks him out there and he goes, "So do you like boys or do you like men or women?" And she was like, "I like women." And he was like,
"I like women."
Yeah.
Sorry.
Aww. So you're gonna feel bad making this. I'm really upset for her.
Okay,
like
sorry.
Truly upset for her. So
this is a preemptive apology. Sorry.
I know, I'm joking. But so I want to start this by saying I do still think JoJo Siwa is an annoying person. I think she's a bit much, but this was awful. So he's asking her, he's grilling her about her sexuality. He's kind of laughing because she says, "I like women," and he goes, "Yeah, I know." Like he could tell, and she's just like, but she's like laughing it off, whatever. And he is like talking to her about it, and she goes, she goes, "Yeah, my partner is non-binary," and then he says, I plan to last for 4 days or whatever. And they're all kind of like, so now everybody's sitting around and they're all like laughing. They're like, 4 days. And he's like, "Give it 4 days and you won't be gay anymore." Which,
what?
Saying that, yeah, he says that to JoJo Siwa.
What, like he's gonna, like,
which
they're
is
gonna
like
fuck?
essentially like a trigger warning, but that's like essentially a rape statement. If you say something like that, I think it's like one of the worst things that like a guy could say to a gay woman. Like it's a really crazy statement. Also, again, a 72-year-old.
These old fucking men. I hate men.
And so JoJo Siwa again, like in this I found her to be
JoJo Siwa.
I know, because she was like and she's like very nice about it. She's just like, "I promise you, I will still be gay and I'll still be in a happy relationship."
Yeah, and she's like, "Your little prune of a dick isn't going to turn me." Like, ew. What?
And guess what he says next?
Oh my God.
He goes, "I'll tie you up." Yeah. Yeah.
Who let him on this show?
So he's no longer on the show. But it took a while. They didn't kick him off immediately. They gave him a warning.
Kick people off of that show, don't they?
Well, but it wasn't like that kind of, it wasn't like they voted him off. Like, no, like CBS or whatever airs the show.
Yeah.
They were like, "Okay, you gotta go." But it took a minute. Like, they at first warned him. They were like, they gave him a warning. Like, no, okay, keep in mind, they all sleep in the same house. So now this girl is like stuck in this house with this man who basically made a statement about like raping her, essentially tying her up, saying, "You're not going to be gay anymore after 4 days with me." I was so disgusted by that.
My God.
And so obviously like a lot of people were, but
yeah, why did we have him on that to begin with?
No, it's insane. And because she had said, like, you know, she kind of, and this was another thing. Then later on, because he said all that, and it was like, and she kind of was like laughing it off or whatever. And he said something like, he goes, "I'm voting the lesbian off." Yeah. And she said, like, "That's homophobic," or whatever. And it was just like, it was crazy. And people were kind of standing up for her. He later came up to her and apologized. He was like, "I'm sorry for what I said." And she was like, "Oh, it's fine. Like, thank you for apologizing. Like, I like that you can take accountability." But like he's got to go, because now I'm like worried for her. You know what I mean?
That's
like
crazy.
I was like, if she has to stay in that house with him,
that
is insane.
That's really disgusting.
It actually was so disgusting, and it made me. I'm like, I still think she's like, you know, JoJo Siwa is JoJo Siwa, but I was like, she did not deserve that. That was awful.
Maybe I'll cut this out, but I think, like, whenever I hear about, like, the sexuality of old men, it really just pisses me off. Like, when Martin Scorsese was, like, kissing women on
Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, on Megalopolis, where he's like, I'll get you in the mood. And it's like, do you think your wrinkly fucking old lips are gonna get me in the mood? Much less, I mean, like, you shouldn't do that if you're, like, 25 either. But you know what I mean? Or, like, even in the episode of White Lotus where that old man was, like, flirting with people and they're like, oh, it's harmless. And it's like, it makes me angrier, honestly, than when, like, young men are being, like, stupid and disgusting sometimes.
Well, because you have to, because people automatically go, oh, he's an old man, like, it's harmless. And it's like, no, it's actually not. It's still creepy to women. But you're seeing him as an old man, so it's like, ugh.
And it's just, like, the absolute gall of male privilege where it's like, I'm sure he's been saying this his whole life, but I feel like women are forced to be like, oh, I'm 72.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously not sexually attractive anymore, which I don't think is true, obviously. But men are just like, I could be 107. Well, you probably want to fuck me, don't you?
But it's not even it's like, what he was saying was so awful. Like, it was truly, like, those were threats. To say that he was going to tie her up. And again, they're sleeping in the same house. So now this is, like, an unsafe. So they called him to the room where they have to, like, talk. They go, Big Brother finds your language offensive. And that's when he apologized to her. But then they ended up kicking him off, I guess. So I'm like, good. Bye.
Yeah,
you gotta
that's
go.
Disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. And apparently, like, so again, I don't really know. I only know Mickey Rourke, like, for those movies. But somebody was like, I like that, like, just every 10 years, Mickey Rourke comes out of hiding and teaches a new generation how crazy he is.
Yeah.
Because apparently, I mean, he's just, like, an insane person.
That's crazy. It also goes to show, like, I know people are like, oh, like, cancel culture, like it's bad, it's out of control, and it's like, we needed that control.
Yeah.
Because imagine,
we
like,
needed
Mickey
Big Brother
Rourke in his heyday.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone was, like, saying and doing stuff like that. I mean,
like,
we watched Mad Men.
Right.
You know?
He was also, like, I was talking to my mom about the other day, and she was like, have you seen him when he was younger? Like, the way that he looks now, he has gotten so much, like, work done. I think he's just gone through it in life, so he looks awful. But, like, as a younger man, he was, like, actually pretty attractive. But I couldn't believe that. I was like, that is the worst thing I think I've seen in a long time. Just because it was just, like, it was upsetting to see. Because I mean, whatever I say about JoJo Siwa, it's like, I still think of her as, like, a little kid. So it's just, like, it was actually really upsetting.
But even if so, I mean, like,
either way, I know.
That's crazy.
And she took it very, like, I think, as much as I think she's, like, kind of a immature, strange person, I also do think in some ways she's very mature, because the way she handled it was very mature, but she didn't have to.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, get me out of this house.
Was it very mature, or was it like the systematic thing of women just being, like, polite?
She wasn't polite, though, because she called him out still, and then when he apologized, she was like, thank you for apologizing. Like, she wasn't just like, because it would be, I'm gonna be honest, if it were me, I'd be like, you know, I will do anything to get out of an uncomfortable situation. Same. So I'd be, like, laughing. I'd be like, ha, like, it's fine, no worries.
Yeah.
So I think she handled it very maturely, but yeah, I was like, I had to talk about it because I couldn't believe it.
So crazy. I'm sorry for mocking you, JoJo.
I know, sorry, JoJo. Sorry. But also, chill out sometimes. But also not really.
But also, I think you need to drink some, like, green tea with honey. I know. Like, just rest
soothe her voice.
Yeah, just rest those chords.
I think Big Brother is kind of the thing for her, though. I'm wondering how she's doing on there.
Yeah, I just didn't know. Like, I've never watched Big Brother.
They all sleep. What I couldn't do is how they all just, like, sleep in the same room.
What?
I don't think the men do, but, like I don't think the men and women sleep in the same room, but, like, they all have, like, beds they might actually, now that I think about it. I don't know. Isn't that, like, a recipe for disaster? I have seen shows like that. I have seen shows like that, like, clips of them. But that's the point, I think. I couldn't.
But also, like, speaking of women, as we are this episode.
Yeah.
So Yellowjackets season 3 wrapped up last Friday. So if you don't know what Yellowjackets is, it came out like 4 years ago, the first season, and it's about a female high school soccer team in the 90s where their plane goes down in the Canadian wilderness. And it goes back and forth from, like, present day to, like, them being in the wilderness as teens trying to figure out how to survive. And I will say the first season and a half, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, this show is good. They, like, really did, like, Lord of the Flies as women, like, some of the stuff that, like, happens is, like, great because it's, like, teen drama stuff, like, stuff that would happen when you were 18, but also they're in the wilderness and
they're
maybe
in the woods
gonna eat each other. You know what I mean? So it's just so interesting. But this season, and I got Chris to watch it. Chris was really into it. But this season, Chris literally had to force himself to watch every episode. And I've
heard it wasn't good.
At the season finale, he was like, let's just get this over with. Like, there's just no, like, it's getting implausible. And I think part of the issue is going back and forth between present day and the past is, like, you know who survives. And then they did this thing where fucking Hilary Swank was a character who you thought was dead. They've never shown her before. Apparently all the other characters thought she was dead. And apparently she's like, oh, I faked my death. And I was like, okay, well, we're doing that. Like, you're trying to, like, still create this air of mystery. And I'm like, they just need to get, like, rescued from the wilderness. We just need to see how they get rescued. And then, apparently it's going to be 5 seasons.
Oh, I was going to ask, is the show over now?
No.
Oh.
And I will say, I will be watching the next season because the way they ended it is very much like a cliffhanger. Like, you're like, oh, what's going to happen? But every other episode, it's like the plot really isn't progressing.
Yeah.
They've set up these mysteries that I don't think you're, like, really learning that much. And also, they're just really leaning into the craziness a little bit. Like, there's this whole scene. This is a little bit of spoiler if you haven't watched it, but, like, whatever. This is kind of a stupid scene where, like, Melanie Lynskey, if you know who that is, she plays adult Shauna. And she bites off a piece of this woman's arm and makes her eat it. And it's like, we're just really taking too much to heart. And then there's, like, certain plot lines that have just been, like, dropped. Sorry, I should clarify. We're really just taking this, like, eating people thing.
Oh.
Like, where it's like, that part is interesting and fascinating in a certain way. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, well, now we're just eating people to eat people. Like, it's just weird, you know?
Right. Like, was she hungry? Or
Yeah, like, it was, like, a weird thing. And I think they just, like, I can't imagine 5 seasons. I'm like, they have to end it at the next season. If they don't end it, like, I'm going to.
Does it feel directionless?
This season really did. Like, last season, I think, was good. And they got rid of one of the adult characters that, like, she was phenomenal. But they've also killed off, like, 2 other main characters this season where I'm like, how are they going to continue for two more seasons?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. And I think, not Nicole Richie. Oh, my God. What's her name?
Christina Ricci.
Christina Ricci. I was going to say from Casper. She's been in so many things.
Yeah.
Anyways, so she plays my favorite character, Misty, who I think her
Is she
and
the weird one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her and Melanie Lynskey are really, like, holding up this show. But I have to say, if you watch this show, young Shauna, I fucking hate. And I don't understand why they let her be. She's such a bitch. And her whole thing is she's pregnant when the plane goes down. And this is a spoiler, but you're never going to watch it. But if you plan on watching it, fast forward. She has the baby in the middle of the wilderness and it dies. And so her whole thing is she's, like, so angry. Like, her grief is anger. But I'm like, okay, it's been, like, 9+ months. And now you're just killing people to kill people. And I was telling Chris, I was like, why is no one taking this bitch out? Like,
yeah. And who is she mad at?
Yes, she's just, like, mad at the world. Like, so she's just taking it out on everyone. But they kind of show that she's maybe, like, a sociopath in general. But, like, there's this whole scene where she, like, they have this one gun and she takes it from one of the characters and the character just kind of gives it to her. I'm like,
no.
Don't give that crazy
Isn't Melanie Lynskey, like, kind of the main character?
They set her up, I think, originally as the main character, but I think they've fleshed out some of the other characters a little bit. I would say it's, like, her and then Christina Ricci, which, if you didn't know, Melanie Lynskey is Australian. Have you ever heard her speak with her regular Australian accent?
Yeah, can I say something?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I haven't really gotten into Yellowjackets. I did watch the first episode, but then didn't finish it because I was going on a trip the next day, and so I was like, I can't watch it.
That is a crazy time crashing. To start it.
Yeah. But everything I've seen Melanie Lynskey in, I've seen her in, like, she was in The Last of Us. She was in, remember that Tattooist of Auschwitz show we watched? Yeah. She had a pretty big part in that. And I've just seen her, and she was an actor when she was younger too. Like, yeah. I don't think I think I just don't get it. I'm not really understanding what people are, like, in love with her over. That's personally me. I don't see, for some reason her voice kind of grates me a little bit. Like, I just don't really. Interesting. I'm not really about it. I don't know.
I just think she's I like her. I've seen her I've seen like almost all of her work now by accident.
Yeah.
Like to go from like 2.5 Men, and then I saw her randomly.
I didn't know she was in that.
Yeah, she's one of like the main characters.
Well,
she plays Rose.
I never watched it.
It's an awful show. I cannot believe I watched that.
It was like my grandpa's favorite show.
My parents and I would watch it like every week when it came out, and I watch it now, and I'm like, that's crazy. I watched this with my parents.
I just don't get, and this is such an unpopular opinion because I know people like love her, but whenever I see her in anything, like for some reason, like her voice and just, I don't know, like.
So she has the strangest Australian accent I've ever heard. In that, like, I feel like an Australian accent.
Is she New Zealand? She might be from New Zealand.
Let me see.
I kind of thought she was from New Zealand. I have her right here. I could just pull it up. She's New Zealand. No, you're fine. I had it pulled up.
So, course correct that Melanie Lynskey is New Zealand, but it's still like a New Zealand accent is still pretty prominent, right?
Yeah, it sounds Australian.
It sounds pretty Australian.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's years of playing like American roles, but I was listening to an interview with her where her accent was so strange to me in that every now and then she sounds New Zealand. Mm-hmm. And it'll be like the weirdest.
It's really
like
faint, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was the best thing I could ever do. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you're just like, whoa.
Whoa.
You're like, wait, okay, roll it back. But I think she's a great actress. I think I like the depth of roles that she plays. But she does play kind of similar roles, I think, in a lot. Like, it's just unassuming, where she's just like, yeah, like I'm just like a middle-aged woman.
And then
like
she's like really bad. Yeah. I do see that. I don't know. Again, it's like a very unpopular opinion. I've just thought about it. Yeah. But I was gonna say, have you seen the interview? There's like a Paley Fest interview with the cast, and I just saw this clip recently where Juliette Lewis like walked off the stage because she was angry about where her character has gone.
That's
apparently.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Her character is very different.
Well, apparently her character is... So Juliette Lewis had a drug problem in real life.
Yeah.
That she's, like, recovered from. And I guess her character ended up having a drug problem, which is, like, she specifically told the writer she didn't want that, and they did it. I don't know.
That's crazy because
she
has a drug problem, like, from episode 1.
Yeah, I don't know. But she walked off the stage... Like, she kind of... got like angry while she was talking about it, and I guess the writer or whoever was like maybe the creator of the show was sitting next to her, and they were like, but you're really good in it, and she literally like walked off the stage. Yeah,
interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah,
that would make sense though, because they like, well, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but
I don't know. When I know that a show has also gone kind of like in a not great direction, I'm like, I might as well just never watch it.
It's like season 1 and 2, I was like, this is great. Locked in,
I've heard
loved
that,
it.
yeah.
Season 3, I was just like, I don't really care what happens to these characters. Like, nothing is making me... It's just like a little bit too... I don't know. And there's certain like macabre things that they throw in where it's like, oh, this is like either like a flashback or like they're hallucinating, and you're just like, okay, well, why does she have knives her fingers, you know? Like, it's just like a weird, I don't know.
And Ella Purnell was in it.
She was for the first... She's in all of the seasons, but she doesn't play as big of a role in the other seasons. I love Ella Purnell. And it's so interesting to see her in different roles where, like, again, I watched Sweet Pea where they made her look so ugly, I'll be honest.
Really?
But she looks, you're like, yeah, I could tell how you're the most popular girl in school in Yellowjackets.
She looks so pretty in that show.
She looks so pretty with those big ol' eyes.
Those big ol' eyes. Yeah, I know I know what happens to her character. I saw a thing of it.
It's not like, I mean, it came out years ago, so it's like, whatever, but...
Don't they eat her?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they also eat a few other people, so...
Yeah, I knew that happened to her.
And sometimes, like, I'm like, okay, now you're just, like, eating and killing people for no reason.
They're hungry. They're stranded.
Sometimes they're not.
What do you mean?
Sometimes it's because it's like, and I do think that this is accurate. They have this whole thing where it's like they call this thing and they call it, and they think there's like this kind of like spiritual thing in the woods. And I do think that's very accurate to like, you know, the base of humanity, where it's like, we don't know what's out there. Weird things are happening. We can't control nature around us because we're literally children just living in the woods. Mm-hmm. And so they like create like this kind of like godlike figure. And sometimes they're like, it wants us to, like, choose to sacrifice someone. And so it'll be the middle of, like, summer. And they could very easily find game. But anyway, so Yellowjackets Season 3, like, I was extremely disappointed.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that.
And there's also, so I can't remember what this character's or this actress's name is, but she's the one who played, like, the robot girl in Companion.
Yeah, Sophie Thatcher.
I swear to God, she has been getting like Botox lip fillers or something on the sly, which is kind of wild to watch her living in the wilderness and slowly like her eyebrows are getting more on fleek. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe they have a glam squad in the wilderness.
Maybe. But also that's another thing that pisses me off, whereas like I feel like Lost could pull this off with their, because it was like a full plane of like 100 and something people.
Right.
But in Yellowjackets, sometimes you'll be like, who the fuck is that girl in the background? It's a soccer team of like 15 people, half of which die when the plane crashes.
Is that the only people on the plane?
It's like, yeah, them and the coach. So
How'd they get their own plane?
One of the girls is really rich. So she's like, my dad's going to
I
fly
guess I
us to
saw that.
nationals.
Yeah. No, I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes like a character will show up and you're just like, who are you?
Yeah, wait. So who?
It's like this one girl, I think, I don't remember. Akila is a character who has a pretty prominent role in season 3. I'm like, I do not remember her being in season 1. And I rewatched.
So they're on the team, though?
They're on the team.
Okay, gotcha.
They're on the team, but it's just like, oh, you very clearly are just running out of characters, so you're just throwing people in here. It's like, they were not on that plane. Guaranteed.
So they get rescued. Do you ever find out how they get rescued?
I think that's what's going to happen in the next season. So that's like a huge cliffhanger of this first season. Or of this third season. Which I think is interesting. But yeah, so that's my review on season 3.
Okay, did you see the last episode of SNL?
Yeah.
So John Hamm hosted.
Yeah.
And they did, sorry, Paul, I'm putting you down. They did a sketch about the White Lotus, which was fun. It was very creative. It was called The White POTUS.
I didn't think it was that funny, I'll be honest.
It wasn't that funny, but I thought there were, like, what they did with it, whatever. I also didn't think it was that funny. People said it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen on SNL for, like, years. And I'm like, I just don't think SNL's funny right now. I just don't. Yeah. We've talked about it before. But anyway, but it was, like, what I did like, I guess, was just, like, seeing them be the characters. Yeah. But actually what was interesting, so the whole thing was like, it was like political people as the White Lotus characters. So the actors were literally playing, they were doing impressions of like 2 different people. Yeah. So it was like Trump was Timothy from White Lotus. Yeah, like Tim he was the dad. Yeah. And they were kind of like doing all of that, but then they made fun of they had RFK Jr. John Hamm played RFK Jr. but as like Rick's character. So he was like Walton Goggins and RFK creative. Jr.
I just didn't think it was that funny.
It wasn't that funny.
It went on for too long.
What I loved about it, and like if you don't like, so I loved that they had so Mikey Day and I think his name is Alex Moffat they used to play Trump's sons. Mm-hmm. They used to be Donald Jr. What's the other Eric? Donald Jr. and Eric. Mm-hmm. And they used to like do like things of that, but they came back for this episode as those characters, but like as the brothers, like as the White Lotus brothers. Yeah. And so I thought that was like funny. I was like, oh, funny. But they had so John Hamm played RFK Jr., but he was Rick. Mm-hmm. And then I guess Cheryl, because he's married to Cheryl Hines, was like RFK Jr. is married to Cheryl Hines. Oh. Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah. And so I think she was supposed to be Cheryl Hines, but they did not physically make fun of anybody else in this except for Aimee Lou Wood, who has, prominent teeth. Yeah. She has spoken outwardly about it before that she is like self-conscious about how she looks. Like
she got bullied for it, which also like she's like, I got bullied in school for my teeth, and it's like, yeah, probably.
And I the thing is about her is like, I think she's so pretty. Like her teeth, I hope she never changes her teeth.
I don't think she will. It's like,
she's very charming. I think the teeth I think they're cute. They're not these stupid veneers that everybody has right now. Like, be proud of your teeth. Like, she's cute and she's very charming, and that's just like what makes her like I love her. But like, it was just crazy to me. And I like, fuck Sarah Sherman. You're not that cute. So don't, like, I'm sorry. I'm going to attack how you look right now because you're making fun of how somebody looks. So I'm sorry. Scared. No, I'm sorry. I'm like, you don't have the right to be doing that, first of all. I don't think Sarah Sherman's funny. So I also just like, I don't like her. But she made fun of her. and with her teeth, and it was just like nobody else was made fun of her for how they looked in that sketch but her. And I was like that, and so in my head when I first watched the sketch, I thought, I was like, huh, and then I saw that and I was like, oh, and in my head I was like, I hope Aimee Lou Wood doesn't see this. Well, she did.
Of course she did. It's SNL.
She did, and she actually went right to Instagram and she made a bunch of posts on her stories, and was just like,
very tasteful post where she was like
actually was pretty mean and like pretty mean spirited and unfunny, and she was like, and I love SNL, like I thought the last week was very funny, but like this was not. She was like, I thought it was mean. They ended up apologizing to her.
Yeah, as they should. And it's just like, it's such an easy thing to make fun of, but I'm like, the thing about actors is like some of them have like very distinct physical traits, and that's like kind of what makes them stand out as an actor. But it's like, why are we making fun of her for this one physical trait when you're not making fun of like anyone else for it?
You're not making fun of anyone else. And also like, it's crazy to me. Like, I just think about people like Bo and Yang, or again Sarah Sherman, where I'm just like, I'm sorry, Sarah Sherman. Like, I'm not calling you ugly. I'm just saying, like, I got mad for a second because I'm like, who are you to do that?
Yeah.
I just love Aimee Lou Wood. So I'm like, too. And I just, I don't think Sarah Sherman's funny. Sorry. I'm going to go back to attacking her now.
I do feel like I want to, so I was like watching White Lotus, and I thought I would love to see Aimee Lou Wood, because I watched her in Sex Education, I watched her in White Lotus. I was like, I want to see like a more dynamic, serious character. When both of those she played kind of like floaty, like whatever. She was in a show, The Toxic,
yeah.
Which I do plan to talk about next week. I watched all of that, and I was like, okay, she plays a very good, like, emotionally dynamic character.
Because she is always, like, flighty and kind of bubbly and, like, whatever. Not flighty, but yeah, kind of. Yeah. And that is, like, her character usually and stuff. But, yeah.
She's such a pure soul, like, even, like, listening to, like, her interviews. But it's just, like, why are we, like, yeah, she has prominent teeth, which is a very British thing, I will say. Like, the thing, like, people always will say, like, the one thing people say is true when you go to England is they're, like, or when British people come to America, they're, like, the difference in teeth is crazy. And it's, like, I feel like if SNL were British, they would not be tripping over those teeth.
No, and also the thing is, like, nobody was really, like, that's not, like, a huge thing to, like, the thing that about White Lotus is, like, him wearing the Duke shirt. That's something to make fun of. But, like, it's not like anybody was really, like, yes, her teeth were definitely commented on, but, like, it's not like that was a huge meme of the show. Yeah. Was her teeth. So it was, like, what I was going to say was, like, it was kind of bizarre to me that to have, like, again, like, Bowen, I feel like it's a very progressive cast. Yeah. And so it's, like, no one in that cast, no one in the writer's room thought that that was not okay.
Right. I feel like someone prominent must have written that, and it's like, oh, well, you can't really, like, maybe go against
Maybe. I just was kind of like, I was shocked at, like, Sarah Sherman making fun of it. Like, I just, I'm like, you guys seem to be very online, I guess is what I'm saying. And, like, they're all very online, so I'm just surprised that they wouldn't know. Like, I immediately cringed on seeing that joke, and I was like, none of you cringed at that?
Yeah. Like, it's just, it's so... I don't know, it's so interesting to me. And it brings me, like, so one of the things that I do love about Chris is, like, he always reminds me, like physical attributes are not, like, a huge thing. Where it's, like, I used to watch shows and I'd be like, wow, like, I very much, this is an inherited trait where I'd be like, wow, like, look at how, like, big their head is or whatever. And Chris would just be like, I don't know, that's just, like, what they were born with. Like, that's just the skull they were born with. Like, those are just the teeth that she has. Like, why are we, like, hating on her for that? Because it's, like, yeah, it probably is, like, it might be, like, a very painful, like, thing to get it corrected, but why does she need to get it corrected? It's not hurting anyone.
There's models that have her teeth.
Yeah, people would love... One of our friends, literally her shout-out friend of the pod, she was like, oh, her husband's a dentist, and she loves Aimee Lou Wood's teeth, and she was like, how can I get, like, can you give me those teeth? Like, jokingly. And her husband was like, only God can give you those teeth. Yeah. Like, they are very much, like, very unique. Like, those teeth cannot be recreated in a lab. And I think there's something really beautiful about that.
Also, there's a scene in White Lotus where she eats an apple, and I think it's really satisfying.
Really?
Like,
I love her eating the
chomp
donut.
into the apple.
We'll get into that in our episode.
No, not the donut.
It's just very me.
I know, but it's sad. Anyway. Yeah. Spoiler.
But yeah.
But that really did bother me because I was like, I hated that. I was like,
props to her for, like, calling it out.
Well, when I saw that sketch, I was like, no. I was like, I hope she doesn't see this. Yeah. And then because I was like, I wonder, well, in my head, I was like, I wonder if, like, she would get sad seeing that. And then my question was answered 2 hours later when she posted on her story. But I think it was interesting because she was kind of saying, like, she kept posting her story and she was like, and people are validating my feelings, so other people agree with me. It was just like funny to see like her like really reacting in real time.
And I do think like SNL has a history of like making fun of like women's appearances a lot, and I think in the past, like, women are, again, traditionally conditioned to just be like, ha ha ha, so true, homie. And, like, shout out to Aimee Lou Wood for being like, hey, that wasn't fucking cool. I love my teeth.
Well, again, it's just like, you didn't make fun of anyone else's appearance.
Yeah.
And she has also openly talked about how, like I know with White Lotus, apparently they didn't want her. Like, HBO didn't want her for the role. And Mike White really fought for her. And she has said, she's like, I can't help but think it's because they thought I was ugly.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that makes me so upset.
Makes me really sad.
Yeah. And so then SNL had to sit there and like basically
call her out for it.
Yeah, and like kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? But like not like invalidate her or validate those thoughts, I guess. You know? Anyway,
I will say Lizzo as Belinda was insane. Lizzo posted a picture of herself, and I literally was like, wait, why is Lizzo posting about White Lotus?
When she sat down, when it showed her, like, I thought that was Belinda. I thought that was the actress, and I was like, oh, I forgot Lizzo was the musical guest. It was just, it was like
funny.
It was not.
I actually didn't think any, like, that was iconic. I liked that, but none of it, like, I literally didn't laugh at all.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of the skits have been. I don't know.
I agree with you.
But on to our other iconic women. So you wanted to talk about the Charli XCX Coachella controversy. So I am curious because I don't know anything about this, but I did pause bringing it all full circle, tying it all together. I was watching another Black Mirror episode while Chris was in the room, and he loves Charli XCX and Coachella. So obviously he was watching the set. And so then he was like, you should see this set, and paused it and put it on the screen. And
what did you think of it?
I thought it was bad because it was probably good if you were there, but whatever was going on with like the mics or like the sound was not coming through on the live stream. I was like, this sounds bad.
Her and Lorde were just not, I didn't think that was a good performance.
Yeah, I only saw the Billie Eilish one, and that one was fine. Like, I love that song, like, gas, gas, gas. But they were like, I was like, I couldn't really hear it. And again, I think it was like maybe just like an audio issue. I don't know. But it definitely was not like a Baychella.
So sometimes I think, like, I know you love Charli XCX, so I'm going to tread lightly. Mm-hmm. But I don't think care. Sometimes when her stuff is performed, I'm kind of like,
her stuff has to be, if you're going to a performance, I think you need to be on drugs.
Right.
Like, it is club shit. Like, she's not like.
And I think sometimes, like, maybe at her concert it's better, but, like, at something like Coachella where there's going to be, like, obvious, like, you know, issues with whatever, like, it just doesn't always, like, it just, to me, like, her and Lorde, I was just like, no.
But I feel like it probably sounded fine if you were there. Like,
probably,
there's stuff there. Like, if you were in the crowd, but streaming it just sounded so bad.
Well, the controversy I was going to talk about was she was not the headliner. Green Day was actually the headliner.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And I don't know how you feel about Green Day. They're very iconic. They've been iconic for 20 years.
I didn't know they were a 90s band until like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
And they were the headliners, and Charli XCX actually, there's a photo of her wearing a sash that said Miss should have been headliner. Yeah, and so it kind of started a big thing, like a big discussion on, like, about just people being like, no, actually you shouldn't have been. You're not, like, take a seat.
Yeah.
You've had, like, maybe one successful album.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's true. And then Green Day has had, like, however many successful albums. And so it was just kind of like, I do like Charli XCX. I'm not saying I don't like her, but I do think, like, there's been kind of a conversation about, like, I feel like she's become her ego's become a little bit big. And so it's just, like, for her to wear a sash that says that, like, why would you wear that?
Okay. I see both sides. I don't think she should have worn the sash. Like, I think that's very tasteless.
Yeah.
But I do see the fact of, like, all I've heard about is the Charli XCX, like, whatever. I've heard nothing about Green Day.
I agree.
Headlining. And Green Day may have, like, a bunch of, but they've also been out longer. But I think Charli XCX, like, it's crazy. Sometimes I listen back to music and it's always like has Charli XCX on it, or like she's in a lot of music that I think like a lot of people.
She's not new, but she's not. I know way more Green Day songs than I know Charli XCX.
But I think it goes back to like, it's of the moment. So it's kind of like when Chappell Roan was at Bonnaroo, was it last year, where they had to literally move her to a bigger stage because of the crowd. And it's like, yeah, because she is big right now, so that's what's going to draw people. Like, I'll be honest, if Green Day came to town and the tickets were like, I don't know, $60, I would go. If Charli XCX came to town, I would pay like $175. Like, I was actually really upset I didn't go to that tour. But it's also because it's like, yeah, like Green Day, like, I don't know, kind of been there, done that type of thing, but Charli XCX is of the moment. So it is kind of strange to me that Coachella was like Green Day's the headliner and Charli XCX is not. But it also goes to show, like, I think Green Day is probably a better performance, whereas Charli XCX is, like, dance club music.
Yeah.
But isn't that what Coachella kind of is? Like, that's why I'm kind of surprised they picked Green Day. I don't know.
I think they just are, to me, a bigger name.
Yeah.
But I agree with what you're saying. Of the time, yes, she is more relevant currently. Like, that is a fact. But I thought it was really tasteless that she wore that sash.
Yeah.
It was just like, what do you mean? Like, no. And also, why would you wear that?
I will say I do think, like, her album is the biggest album of, like, the past couple years. Besides, like, maybe, I don't even know if, like, Chappell Roan's album, like, it was big, but she had, like, her album count was big, but then it was, like, her other music that had already come out.
Yeah,
was
I mean,
big,
Chappell Roan doesn't have, like, a word that, like, I feel like, you know, like Charli XCX was definitely, like, a movement of, especially during the summer, like, Brat Summer, but, like, I don't know. I just think sometimes I don't like her as much, or I don't care about her as much as, like, I don't know. I think she's a tiny, tiny bit overrated. That's just how I feel.
I could see that because, again, it's not like, I will say I don't think Charli XCX's music is like, I'm like, this is musical genius.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm listening to it, windows down, I'm vibing. You know?
That's fine.
Like, I don't think she's really gonna change society with, like, Brat Summer was great, but, like, what is that really doing? Whereas I feel like Green Day's music was more, like...
Like, their music moves me, you know?
Yeah, like socio-politically.
I'm not sitting here saying, like, well, I mean, maybe I did just say one is better than the other, but I think it was just, like, the sash. I was just like, come on, girl. Like,
I wonder if someone, like... If she, I would
could
be
curious, it could be taken out of context.
If she had that made, or if someone just like handed that to her. Not that really changes. If it were me, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to put that on. But
right.
I don't know. It's interesting because I feel like Charli XCX has been making music for so long, and this is like the peak of her career so far.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe it is something where she's like trying to grasp at that, where it's like might be the most I ever do, because you never know. You never know how your career is going to pan out, and it's like, I might never get the opportunity to headline Coachella.
I think I would, just me personally, though, I'm thinking about it, I think I'd be more excited to be at a Green Day performance than Charli XCX.
That's interesting. But I don't think you were really, like, into the new album. Like, you weren't vibing with it.
It's not that I didn't vibe with it. I do love some of her songs. I just don't, like, but I also don't think, like, we may have talked about this with the Grammys. Maybe I never said this out loud. I don't, like, look at her music and am like, that should be Grammy nominated. Because it is just, like, club music to me. Like, it's party music. It's a vibe, but I, like, look at the lyrics, I'm like, no.
This is a weird question, but stay with me.
Okay.
When you are drunk, do you wash your face before you go to bed?
So I used to not, but I've lately made a really conscious effort to.
Okay. And that's why I think
hers is not washing your face.
Yes. If I am drunk, I do not wash my face before I go to bed.
And then one time I think I heard her say, and I don't disagree with her on this statement, okay? I don't disagree with her. But something about her saying it really rubbed me the wrong way, where she was saying that she was like, when I go out, I hate when people are just like talking. Like, she was like, I don't like having like deep conversations in the bathroom. When people are like crying in the bathroom, like, I don't want to talk to them. I just want to go out and dance. I understand what she's saying, but I'm also, something about that really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I can't explain why, because she's not wrong. Like, obviously you want to go out and like have a good time rather than just like crying in the bathroom. But something about it just, I was like, that feels like I don't think I would get along with her. Not that I cry. I'm not like a crier at party, like whatever, but like, I don't know, just something about that statement. Like, I was just like,
I feel like it's not really a night out if someone doesn't end up crying in the bathroom. And I'm saying this as someone, I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever really cried in the
I don't
bathroom
think I
while
have
drinking.
I have had
sure
one cry
comforted.
meltdown, and like that's
Yeah.
it. But I'm not one to like go. Like I'm also one who would rather be having fun. But just
Yeah.
something about her saying it, like I don't know. I can't explain it. It was just like I was like, oh, I don't know if we would.
I think
I just don't think she would like me.
I don't think she would like me either. But I think it's also because she's very like a messy girl type of girl, and I think you were like very not like you're very like put together, and like you're like very like you would pull off like a clean girl aesthetic. And I'm not saying that I don't even know. I'm kind of like I'm not messy like Charli XCX is. I'm not doing drugs in the bathroom. I'm more like wake up with chocolate wrappers in my bed messy. But do you know what I mean? Where I think like maybe that's why people liked it. But I think like it is club music, but it's better than the club music that we've gotten in the past like 5 or 6 years, and I think that's why people loved it.
This is all to say I do
yeah.
like her. I like her music. I think it was just an interesting conversation because like that really started. It was a huge controversy that she did that.
To clarify, if you did not like Charli XCX, I would not be offended. That's fine. Like whatever. Like again, it's not like I'm not like her music emotionally moved me.
Right.
I'm just like
I do love Green Day.
I love Green Day too.
I really do.
One time, I will say, I did not know. Me, Chris, and our friend James ended up at it was karaoke, and we did not know it was emo karaoke night until a full crowd of people came dressed up as Green Day, like the ties, and like they had like you know what I mean, like from that one album.
Yeah, do you consider them emo?
I didn't until we were at emo karaoke and everyone was dressed as Green Day. And I will say the best rendition. Okay, this guy goes up. He's in full camo. He's like the only one besides us not getting like the emo vibe. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, what is this guy gonna sing? Oh, yeah. The best rendition of Purple Rain I've ever heard in my life at karaoke.
Oh,
it was
wow.
It was like I was like tears in my eyes. I was like, this is beautiful. It was great. And then we just went back to like emo music, which is I also love emo music, but it was so like I think they're emo. I think if you put eyeliner on. If you're gonna do like a shaggy haircut,
in emo music, like communities would agree with that though. Like Black Veil Bride is emo to me. I don't know their music, but like I think of them as emo. But like I don't know if Green Day wouldn't Green Day be just like alternative? Like I don't know.
Like, it depends on the album. I think
maybe,
and it depends on the vibe. Yeah. I would have to ask like 13-year-old Alexa. I think she would know better because she really leaned into that emo vibe. Mm-hmm. Embarrassing times.
I would like to see that.
It wasn't like as bad as you'd think because whenever I try to buy things with skulls on it, my mom like was like, "I'm gonna kick you out of the house." So it could have been much worse, but you know, and not that like there's anything wrong with being emo, but we all know the 2007 Tumblr MySpace picture that we're all thinking of. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyways, that's Coachella.
That was Coachella.
Yeah.
I just had to. I don't want to offend. I'm sorry, Charli XCX, if you're listening, which I know you are, because you listen to this.
Yeah, friend of the pod, notoriously.
But I'm a Green Day fan. I'm a Green Day girly.
Yeah, and I love Green Day as well. Yeah, I think they're very fun. I think they're very fun, very pop, what a time. American Idiot. But anyways, I think we're gonna close it out. We're back and better than ever. Mm-hmm. We missed you all last week.
Yeah. Thought you were closing out with a topic. You're just straight up saying goodbye.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Molly's getting with it. We're gonna
try to. Is Chris home?
No.
Okay. We're gonna try to between us, if you're listening.
Yeah, between us listeners and everyone on the internet.
We're gonna try to get Chris to watch a Black Mirror episode tonight.
We'll let you know what happens. We might have to.
It might be a Clockwork Orange situation.
Yeah.
Might have to pin his eyeballs back.
I'm fine with that.
Put those contacts in his eyeballs.
It was actually horrific when I put his contact in my eyeball. I think I was like, do I need to rip my eye out of my head?
That's scary. Because then you're like, blind. You're trying. There's nothing worse than trying to get your contact out of your eye if there's something in it and you're you're dying.
One time I was chopping peppers and I put my contact in and I forgot.
Oh my God.
It was the worst. I was like, I'll never.
Because you think you're going to die, genuinely. Yes. You think this is it.
Yes.
This is your eyesight going.
Yeah, and that's probably how Chris is going to feel when we make him watch Black Mirror.
It's not though. His life is gonna be changed forever.
I loved seeing how angry you got at him earlier trying to explain.
It wasn't anger. No. It was not anger. It was passion.
Passion, yes. Because that's how I get whenever, I'm telling you, Molly, I've been trying for years.
Because he would like it. That's what gets me.
He would like it.
He would like Black
But he's
Mirror.
already got this preconceived notion in his head that it's stupid.
Guess what? I was telling, okay, Cindy, if you're listening, I don't know, but I was telling, and then we'll wrap it up. But I was telling my mom. Okay, my mom notoriously refuses to watch Titanic. Like, she has never watched it. She doesn't want to because, like me, she doesn't like when people talk about something a lot, and then she's like, "No, I'm not doing it." So I said to her literally the other day, I was like, "Mom, if it comes to the movies for another like 25th anniversary thing, like we are going to see
in 25 years."
I think we just had the 25th anniversary because you and me and Megan saw it like a couple of years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant like a 50th, like in another 25 years. Sorry.
Oh, no. So I was like, if it comes to the movies again, like whatever, like we are seeing it because in the movies, like it's just different.
I have a theory that Titanic is showing in a movie theater at all times, at least one.
So my mom sent me the next day that Movie Tavern is showing Titanic.
Here's a good question. Here's my other question of the week. Mm-hmm. What movie would you want to see re-released in theaters again?
I have a follow-up question to that. Re-released in theaters.
This is the episode that never ends.
I would like to experience...
Okay.
I would like to experience Midsummer again in theaters.
But only with the woman who falls.
They re-release Hereditary all the time. That's why I said that.
Oh, really?
Oh, this was the thing I was going to say earlier. Remember when I said, remind me to tell you something? So Ari Aster has a new movie. I sent it to you, Megan. Only Megan responded. But Ari Aster has a new movie coming out.
What's it called?
Eddington.
Oh, yes.
Yes, with Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Austin Butler, Emma Stone. Like, it's a new Ari Aster movie with Pedro Pascal and Austin Butler. I'm winning.
Unrelated.
I'm winning. But it's about the pandemic.
I'll be there.
I know, but that's like kind of cringe, no?
Unrelated, what do you think Joaquin Phoenix's nickname is, like, amongst friends?
I don't think he has nicknames. I think he doesn't speak. I actually don't like him as a person, but I think he's an amazing actor. Wacky.
J? Wait, is it a J?
Follow-up question. What would you like to see the, like, what was that thing called?
Okay.
The Hotel Reverie. Like, what movie would you like to see do that?
What a question. What a question. Because
it's gotta be like an old movie. Look at your little legs up on the wall. Your face right now.
Citizen Kane would be good.
Who would you put in it?
Oh.
Like, because that's the question is, like, what would you see with it? And I added that later.
Jeremy Strong would play a good Citizen Kane, I think. Have you seen Citizen Kane? No. It's so long, but it's so good. I would do Casablanca. Like, if I'm thinking, like, black and white movies, like...
Well, I guess, because, like, I'm just thinking of, like...
The Lady Eve is very good. I love that one.
What's The Lady Eve?
It is a I can't remember her name right now, but it basically is like kind of like this woman who it's I don't want to spoil it, but it's
not all about Eve.
No, it's actually different. But it's basically like this woman where she like starts out, she's kind of like a loser, and then she has like this like makeover, and I haven't seen it in years,
is it
but
like
I do
Princess
love that
Diaries?
It actually kind of is in a weird way, but there's like a little bit of a twist. Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. Well, they're kind of already doing that, though.
Okay, well, I didn't know, it couldn't be a remake. Or The Mummy.
Aw,
I would be in The Mummy. I would fucking love to be in The Mummy. Sorry, that was aggressive. And Titanic.
I agree.
Like, what are we counting as old? Like, before 9/11?
No, because now I just thought of one that I was like, I'd like to see... I almost want to say, like, The Princess Bride or something.
I would love to see The Princess Bride in theaters, though. Yeah. But anyways.
That wasn't the question, but yeah.
But also, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyways, thank you again. If you made it this far, as always, please rate, review, like, subscribe. Please share with your friends. We love more friends. And follow us on Instagram for out of context posts at Poppin In Podcasts. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.